and then we'll have a little bit of break. We have snacks and refreshments, so please feel free to take whatever you guys want. And then we have another presenter from 2:45 to 11:45 today. And then we get to go to lunch. There are a lot of great restaurants all around, literally walking distance across the street. And then we'll have another presenter from 12:45 to 2:15. And then we'll have another break, so don't worry, I know it seems like a lot already. And then we'll have 2 more presenters, and I hope that will be wrapped up around 4:30 to 5, okay? And like I said, just be flexible on that time, may go shorter, may go longer. Anybody have any questions? All right, so the next person I'm going to introduce is Grant Kelly. He is going to be our upcoming president for this upcoming year. So please give a round of applause for Grant Kelly.
All right, hey everybody. So Ashley Flood, Region 7 Director here for the Missouri Child Support Education Association. That's a lot of words that is kind of hard to spit out all at once in CSEA for you folks. So I've been part of this organization since I joined the prosecutor's office 10 years ago. It's crazy to think that it's been 10 years that I've been doing this. In that time, I have to say that we've had a lot of town halls. I was the former Region 7 Director. I have to say that Ashley is bringing things up. She's passed and joined up quite a bit. This wonderful facility, the organization of this meeting here today, our presenters, all of that is thanks to Ashley Flood. I think she is well deserving of a round of applause. So, brief history of the organization. So, the Missouri Child Support Education is celebrating 49 years this year. It's an organization that's a nonprofit. It's dedicated towards educating our child support professionals here in the state of Missouri for aspects that are related to child support creation, child support modification, child support enforcement. So, we kind of piggybacked off of the feds when we were initially created to help educate a lot of our professionals that are out in the community working to help families in our community have the child support that they deserve. Let me see. Oh, that's how I like it. So I cannot tell you how much I believe in this organization. It's a tremendous thing. The folks that you meet and encounter that are part of this organization truly are dedicated. They don't get paid for this. There's no extra bumps or bonuses. There's a lot of headaches that come with it. I don't know if that's payment or not, but they sacrifice their time, their personal expenses. There's time that they take away from their families to help educate us so that the families in our community get what they need. So I do have the honor and privilege of being president-elect, so I will be president next year. I'm thrilled for that opportunity. Also, I have the privilege of introducing our next speaker, Mark Elbrock. Getting him started just a little bit early. So let's do a looking picture of Mark there. I've known Mark for as long as I've been an attorney. In fact, just a little bit before that. I first met Mark when he was had private practice. He was handling a number of different cases on his own. I also got to work alongside Mark when he was a Clay County prosecuting attorney. He is a former Army. He's a former state rep. He has an incredible amount of knowledge and experience that's related to the legal field from a number of different aspects. He's a family man, he's a local man, longtime Clay County resident, and now works for the division, handling administrative hearings as an administrator. Mark is here today to discuss some of the ins and outs, how the sausage is made when it comes to Missouri legislation. I'm thrilled to introduce him, so without further ado, here is Mark Ellerbrock.
Oh, microphone, that's lovely, thank you. That'll be a lot easier for me. This coffee cup is a gift from a friend of mine named Tom Mendel, whose law office is right there. I'm not the world's greatest lawyer, but he is, sorry. So, Grant, thank you for introducing me. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to talk at you today about how a bill becomes a law. When Grant asked me to do this, I was sort of like initially kind of befuddled, like everybody sort of, everybody knows the song by the Schoolhouse Rock people. Right? I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill. And I thought, because there's a lot of things going on, that's a good touchstone, right? A good starting place for all of us, because when I went into the legislature, that was kind of my understanding of the process as well, and in spite of the, political science degree and stuff like that, it was still more or less framed like that, right? So I thought it might be helpful, and I looked it up, what some of the lyrics were, and I'm not gonna sing the whole song to you guys, because I can't sing. I can play drum set pretty well, but I can't sing. The song starts off in kind of an interesting way. It's the little boy walking up the stairs, and he says, hey, I'm walking up the stairs. It's long. He says, let me just quote the young man. He says, woof, you sure gotta climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington, but I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is. And then the sad little scrap of paper says, well, I'm a bill. And the boy says, gee, you certainly have a lot of patience and courage to get all the way here. And he said, well, I got this far. When I started, I wasn't even a bill. I was just an idea. Some folks back home decided that they wanted a law passed. So they called their local congressman, and he said, you're right, there ought to be a law. Then he sat down, and he wrote me out and introduced me to Congress, and I became a bill, and I'll remain a bill until they decide to make me a law. So I want to break that down, because when I got to the legislature, that was sort of my naive, but not naive in a bad way, naive in a very American way, in the way that we feel like this is how we access our Congress. Our Constitution says we can go talk to this person, and this person will go to the rest of the General Assembly and talk to them about my idea. The first thing that's incorrect about that is that some folks back home decided they wanted a law passed. Most of the laws we pass are not ideas that come from back home. Most of the laws that we pass are budget related. So most of the laws we pass are influenced largely by lobbying groups, right, who either stand to benefit or lose based upon whatever budgetary decision we make. Sometimes they do have ideas. I had a lot of ideas, and I don't say this to, nobody likes a braggart. Grant knows what I'm about to do, but when I was in the legislature, the average number of bills filed per legislator was 2 or 3. I filed between 40 and 45 a year. Not because I had that many great ideas, but because most of the time when people get there, the system itself is just so intimidating that filing a bill becomes one of their back burner ideas, because they have to get involved first, they have to be assigned to a committee, and they have to learn the basics. Who do I need to talk to? Where are the bathrooms? Who's my legislative assistant? How does this stuff really get done? Which brings me to one of the other things that's not exactly accurate about that song, which is the congressional members, legislators, when I was in the General Assembly, we don't write our own bills. None of us do. A few of us have tried in the past. When that happens, they get sent back down to the people that actually do the formal writing. That's called the research department, right? There's House research, and then there's Senate research. House research will draft the bill if you tell them what you want the bill to do. So in going to them, you say, I want a bill. For instance, a really good example, really simple one. One year I wanted all the municipal prosecutors in the state of Missouri to give defendants a copy of their DWI influence report for free. Just give them the paper that you're using to charge them with. That's all I was asking for, right? I sent that down to research, and we went back and forth on that simple idea about a half a dozen times before we got it to do what I wanted it to do. That happened with a good deal of the bills that I wrote, because most of the time, House research and Senate research is very, very overworked. They have a small amount of staff, and they have a lot of requests from people. So the first thing to keep in mind in legislation is the simpler, the better. Because even the simplest of ideas have to get kicked back and forth between research and the legislator submitting them before they meet that legislator's approval. And it also will depend on who you have as a legislator. And we'll get to that in just a second because that's a different part of the song. So the ideas do sometimes come from your constituents. Most often they come from lobbyists or interests groups. Okay, and then once they're the idea, then it goes to research and drafting. Research and drafting will produce you something approximating what your constituents' ideas were, and then you have to file that bill, right? That's where we get to part of the other part of the song, where he says, listen to those congressmen arguing. Is that discussion and debate all about you? Yeah, I'm one of the lucky ones. Most bills never even get this far, the bill says. I hope they decide to report on me favorably, otherwise I may die. So when bills get to the point that people are talking about them, that they've already been through about 4 steps. The first biggest step is the drafting step. Then the next step is going to be the first read of the bill, the introduction itself, which usually goes across without any kind of fanfare at all. Typically, the room is more or less empty with just the clerk and maybe whoever's sitting in for the speaker and whoever the pro tem is, and a handful of other legislators scattered across the floor, and they just introduce bills. They do that in the morning time, typically, right after they do the first invocation and the prayer and the sort of typical ceremonies to open the day. Then they'll introduce the first reads, they'll do second reads, and then bills will be referred to committees. Right? That's where they're talking about, in this song, they're talking about people arguing back and forth. Now, some people have different experiences in this process than I had. But in my experience, the more they talked about your bill, the less likely it was going to be to become successful. Because talking about your bill in a place like the Missouri legislature means that it's being slowed down. We have about 4 months to pass legislation in Missouri, January through the middle of May. But the practical reality is they stopped taking bills for consideration in early March. When leaves start coming out on trees, that's when most of the time all the ideas that are going to be talked about have already been referred, read a few times, they're in committee, and most of them are making their way out of committee by the middle of March. The saying is, as the blossoms fall off the trees, so do the bills. Right? So in April, when the cherry blossoms come out and they fall off those trees, if you don't already have your bill moving already through a committee, chances are it's not going to get anywhere unless you can figure out how to make it an amendment and get it added on to someone else's bill. Now, I happen to be a person who was in a minority caucus the entire time I was in the legislature, so almost everything I did, almost everything I was able to do was an amendment. Standalone bills for me were very, very rare. But the simple fact of the matter is, even for people in the majority caucus, standalone bills are still very rare because it's so difficult to get them through that committee process. Now, in committee, depending on who your legislator is, it can go very quickly. If the sponsor of that bill has good relationships with that chair, it will go very quickly. If the sponsor of the bill has very good relationships with the chair and with the ranking minority member, it probably won't even take more than about 10 minutes in committee. And that's because most of the time, if the legislator that's sponsoring the bill has done their homework right, she has already talked to all these people on this committee, and the only thing the vote's going to be is more or less a formality because everybody on the committee is already familiar with it and they already know what it does. But getting to that point is extremely difficult. And the reason why it's extremely difficult has nothing to do with the song. It's got nothing to do with the actual written process. It has more to do with personalities. And that's one of the keys to this whole system that I think a lot of times gets lost when we read the news or when we see these stories and we hear about policymakers in Jefferson City arguing back and forth or name calling and things like that. Those are exactly the types of things that will kill a bill. And a lot of people don't realize that. They think that we're in a sort of a political or a partisan battle or a war field or something where one idea must be pitted against another idea and the better of the ideas will survive. And that's just not the way the legislative process works because ours is a system built on compromise rather than combat. So if you can get your bill to a position where you are being read in committee, you're already about 5 steps ahead of almost every other bill that ever gets filed. Then in committee, if you have people talking about it and arguing about it while the bill's in committee, you're actually going to have a tougher time getting it off the floor of the House and into the Senate because that's indicative that more people have a problem with it. And here's the other thing. People can have problems with your legislation not because of the principle, but because of the financial impact, right? And that is a big one to overcome in the Missouri State Legislature, because after it goes through the policy committee it's in, it will get referred to a finance committee or a fiscal committee. And they're the ones that do the budget review. It's also called a budget review committee. They called it a bunch of different things over the course of the last several years. But that's a separate committee apart from the policy committee that these bills go to. And then they're evaluated for the financial impact that they're going to have on the budget. Will this cost us more money? Will this cost less money? Will it be revenue neutral? And there are all different kinds of ways to determine whether or not a bill is going to have a financial impact of any kind, whether it's going to be revenue neutral or whether it's going to cost us money in some kind of a way. The thing about that is, in just like everything else, personalities play at least as large a role in the fiscal oversight committees as they do in the policy committees. And that's because people can get pretty creative with math sometimes. Bills have come out of fiscal committee, then on the floor been referred back to fiscal committee, and then the fiscal committee will report back out as the bill having been dramatically cut in costs so that it's now revenue neutral. And that will happen for legislators who are in good favor with the speaker. Their bills will come back out of that finance committee with $0 budget impacts. And that's been happening in Missouri for a very long time. Sometimes they'll come out with much higher fiscal impacts after they've been referred. And it's because of that fiscal committee that we have this additional layer. Now, when I was in the legislature, on top of the policy committee, on top of the fiscal committee, we had one other committee that was sort of innovative that the speakers added on top of all that, and that was called the Oversight Committee. There was 3 of those. 2 of them were utilized. The speaker would put one person of their choice in one of those committees and another person of their choice in another of those committees, and they would take certain types of bills to each of those committees. One, informally, was kind of known as the committee where bills go to die. And the other was sort of informally known as, hey, we're going to get stuff done today. And that was sort of how everybody in the legislature looked at it. So it's important to know which committee you're going to be referred to, which committee you're going to be referred to after your policy committee, and how you're going to have the bill introduced, right? So when you're going through that, every step of the way, personalities matter. That makes an impact on whether the bill is going to be favorably heard or not favorably heard. But in this whole thing is the very, very first introductory step, the legislator that you select to carry your legislation. Because all those things about committees and all those things about fiscal committees and fiscal reports and things like that will be a lot better for your legislation if you can find someone who is well received by the speaker to introduce your legislation. A kind of a way of thinking about it would be like, just suppose, like the song does, suppose your bill is a person, and you're taking this person to a gathering that they don't know anybody, but you know everyone, and you're going to introduce this person. Now, everyone's been in a situation where they wish that they could have been introduced by somebody that was really cool, because some of that cool rubs off on you, right? And some of that fun rubs off on you, so that when people meet you for the first time, they're going to natively associate you with the person that introduced you to them. That's sort of natural. And in crafting successful legislation, one of the things that successful legislators do is swap bills. So that I used to routinely take my bills to legislators that I knew could pass legislation, that I knew could get things through a committee, and I would ask them, will you please file this bill for me? Because I'm in the minority caucus, and I know it ain't going nowhere, but I know it's a good idea, right? So we had, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen bill ideas get spread around that way, and they can get through as long as you find legislators that can help you, that have good reputations with the speaker and with the committee chairs. That's one of the things that a lot of folks kind of, I suppose the word, to borrow a phrase from a former president, that's the thing that I think most folks misunderestimate about the legislative process, is that it's so deeply personality driven that we often forget that when people say public things, or when they go on social media and they say things that are deeply disparaging in some cases or very insulting in some cases, your legislator has just effectively cut themselves off from being able to do their jobs. Because if you go down there and you insult all your coworkers, they're probably not likely to be wanting to do a lot for you, right? Like I wouldn't. If somebody came to me and said, I disagree with everything you do, I don't think you should be here, I don't think you should have this job, and you're an illegitimate office holder, I probably wouldn't do an awful lot to help them pass bills. And they probably wouldn't do an awful lot to help me pass bills if I said that about them, right? So I understand that this is an organization that's had some law changes affect it pretty deeply recently. And I also understand that this is an organization that does so much good for our state and for our community that undoing some of the bad legislation is well within the realm of possibility. If strategically we can pick the right legislators and find the right groups of people and then massage the result out to get it where we want. Because the structure of the song is correct. You're only a bill. You're just a scrap of paper. You get referred from one committee to another committee, and then when you're done in the House, it starts all over again in the Senate. And you go through that whole process. And in Missouri, you've only got about 4 months to do it with vacations baked in. It's more like 3 months because there's a big week-long break in the middle of March for spring break, and the legislature does not work on Fridays, and they typically only work about 2 hours on Mondays. Most of that's because of travel time and because we still run on a somewhat archaic schedule that wasn't really thought up when we had interstate highways and stuff. But that's kind of the schedule. So if you can't get your legislation done in that amount of time, you'll have to pick up and try again next year. And that was one of the other things that I wanted to kind of bring up, is that legislation doesn't die and go away forever in that regard, or at least mine never did. And most of the effective legislators that I knew, theirs never did either, because you go and you refile it once the bill idea has been introduced 1 year. You've only got 4 months. It's not a loss that the bill doesn't get passed that year. It might be a little bit discouraging if it doesn't get passed year after year after year, but in Missouri, a good bill takes about 3 years to pass. The biggest reason why that is because the restricted amount of time we have, but also because the current makeup right now of the legislature, well, I shouldn't say the current. When I was in the legislature, the makeup of the legislature was to slow things down. I think 1 year when I was in the legislature, we passed a record low number of bills. Like we passed the 12 budget bills necessary and then like 1 or 2 other laws. But that was a philosophical choice that the speaker and I believe the Senate leadership had kind of made, that they didn't really have a lot that they could agree on that year. Let's just pass the budget, agree on what we can agree on, and come back to the drawing board next year. Now, to a lot of folks, that looks like inactivity, and it is inactivity on paper. I don't mean to say that it's not, but the things that happen behind the scenes, the discussions that are happening right now, as we sit here right now, there are dozens of discussions going on across the state of Missouri by policymakers and legislators, especially by their staff in the Senate side, about what their legislation that they're going to file on January 1st will look like. Now is the time to get started. Now is the time to get started for a bill that you would like to have introduced in January. So if you know legislators or if you have relationships with legislators, reach out to them and contact them with your ideas. I will help. If anybody in here has an idea, I will be happy to reach out to some of the friends I still have in the legislature and see if there's anything we can do. But this is the time. One of the things that people used to do a lot that it was really disappointing, not in them. I was never disappointed in them because nobody knows. You can't be disappointed in these people. But disappointed that good ideas couldn't make it was because people would show up and tell me a good idea in February. Guys, all the bills that are going to get passed this year have already been referred to a committee. By the time mid-February, by Valentine's Day, if it's going to be a law, it's in a committee already, right? So good ideas can't start in February unless they're starting in the February of the year before you want it introduced. And then it's got a shot. And that's mostly because of the truncated time that we have to legislate. So if you have a good idea, now is the time to communicate that with your legislator. The other thing to keep in mind is your legislator matters. And I'm not, it's a partisan system. We don't have a choice, right? It's a first past the post electoral system. We have 2 political parties, and that's fine. But if your goal is to affect public policy, if your goal is to actually create effective legislation, you should completely eject the idea of partisan affiliation from your mind. You should find the best legislator that most identifies with your issue. And the biggest reason why is because right now in the state of Missouri, these political alliances do not make any rational sense at all. And I don't say that to be derogatory. These are political parties that are designed simply to help people win their elections, and that's fine. But so much of the philosophies that we see in social media or that are presented to us through the news, through various news sources from NPR to Fox, is not the real story of some of these legislators. I certainly recall in my experience in the legislature seeing some very derogatory things written about a legislator that I worked pretty closely with. Her name was Hannah Kelly. She was from Southwest Missouri. A more marvelous human being I don't think I've ever met. She was a great gal, and she passed really good legislation most of the time. The problem was she introduced a bill one year, and there was a special interest group that disliked the bill she introduced, and so they said really, really hateful things about her in a St. Louis newspaper because they were of different political affiliations. And that caused a rift in some of the relationships that Representative Kelly had with some of the other legislators. So some of the good ideas that some of us had got kind of backburnered. And that's a direct result of people forgetting that this is a personality-driven system. It's not necessarily an ideologically driven system in total because it's so deeply financially based. The most important thing we do is pass the budget. As I said, there are some years where the only thing we did was pass a budget and go home. So when it comes to policy decisions, there was, when it comes to policy decisions, it takes a long time and it takes a lot of convincing and it takes the right person to do the job, right? I don't think I would have ever been in a position to be the person to carry a bill that did anything significant with child support or with adoption or with child placement or anything like that, because that wasn't really my wheelhouse when I got to the legislature. Mine was more like criminal defense and some civil stuff and big on labor, and that was about it. So if I were to have a bill that had anything to do with child support, I might file it on my own, just to file it and tell my constituent that asked me to do something about it, hey, look, I filed your bill. It's going to be referred to a committee, but then I would also take my bill idea to another legislator, usually in the majority caucus, who I knew had this issue in their head or were trying to do something with it, and strike up a conversation with them about how can we work together on this. I like your idea. I hope you like mine. Maybe we can get this done together. Now, if we, as an organization, adopt that mentality, where, a person, there were a number of times that my colleagues in the House passed bills or legislation that I found deeply offensive or odious. I cannot believe that they would do this. But at the same time, we've got another bill coming up and I've got to work with them on it. And I can get this part passed. There was, Chuck Basie was a representative from the Boonville area. And I don't mean to sit here and tell war stories, but Chuck Basie was on the Insurance Policy Committee that I was ranking member on. And he had a good idea, and that was to require insurance companies to cover nonspecific diagnosable developmental disabilities for children under the age of 12. Right? Nonspecific developmental delay. Insurance companies could, up until I think 2017 or 2018, just deny that because it was a nonspecific developmental delay and they didn't want to provide insurance for the treatment that the child clearly needed. And Chuck Basie's idea was to just change the insurance law so that non-specific developmental disabilities could be covered by insurance provisions so that the insurance company could cover the medical treatment. And it took him 4 years to get that passed. It took him 4 years and a number of us on the Democratic side because of the reputations and the sentiments that had built up simply about Republican and Democrat differences in the House. Now here's an idea that it doesn't, to me, objectively, and I think for everybody, unless you're in the insurance business, covering children who need medical care with insurance is a moral imperative. Right? The child needs treatment. And the public policy of the state of Missouri is that children will receive support. And that's the support this child needs. So it's nonpartisan, right? That's a public policy thing. Everybody should be in agreement on that. And it took that long to get over the hump because of the personalities and the reputations that had stymied the ability to compromise and to pass good legislation and to make things really happen. So when we go to advocate for our positions, when we go to advocate for positive policy change, we have to keep in mind that it is 100% personality driven, and the legislator I'm talking to, the legislator I'm trying to get something out of, may have just stood on the floor and said some really offensive things about something I very deeply believe to be true. But that's not what I'm here for today. I've got to talk about whatever legislation we have that is in our shared interest and move it forward, right? That's one of the things that gets lost in the mix a lot of times, is that this is such a deeply personality-driven system. Now, from speaker to speaker, those things will change. And that's why I've talked a little bit more about that than I've talked about the actual nuts and bolts of the internal policy. Everybody can go and look up what the levels of committees are in the House. You can find that on the website, the house.mo.gov. You can go and look up the committees, the standing committees, and the special committees. So you can look on paper and see what the process is. First read, second read, committee referral, comes out of committee, goes into the first subcommittee, fiscal review, goes into the next policy, or goes into the next quality level, whatever it is that the speaker has set up for the final committee review. And those are sort of the bottlenecks. Right? That's where they hold everything until the speaker's ready to let it come to the floor. Every step along the way, what you don't see in the written schematic of how a bill becomes a law is the personalities and the layers of personalities, and how sometimes you can even find good and effective lobbyists who will go and talk to the legislators that you need talked to. Because at the end of the day, we're all on the same side of the bill, right? And the job of a good and effective legislator, or in our situation, a good and effective lobbyist or a good and effective advocate for the organization, is somebody that realizes we're both on the same side of this bill. We might be on the other side of other bills, but this one, to make kids' lives in Missouri better, is something that I think everybody can agree on. And that was a good example of where personalities can actually get stuff done. Because Chuck Basie had to go and make friends with everybody. I was the ranking minority member, so I had to go and convince all the Democrats that even though this idea is coming from a Republican, it's still a great idea. Look at all the reasons why. And it's so personality driven that even in those situations, you're not going to get everybody. Even in a situation that is so apparently obvious to everyone in the building that these children should be covered by insurance, you're still not going to get every vote. The reason you're not going to get every vote has nothing at all to do with the policy or the idea or the legislation, and it's got everything in the world to do with the personalities at play that are inside the building. So that's one of the things that never gets written down, one of the things that I think most people don't realize until they're in the building, and even sometimes the folks that are in the building don't seem to realize it because they stand up on the floor and they do the kinds of things that prevent them from passing legislation. So in terms of, I'm just a bill, I'm only a bill, that sort of naive American understanding of the way things ought to work is still true, but in a much more adult kind of mature way for me to understand it from when I was in the legislature in my very first year. Because I truly believed, like I'm sure a lot of people do, that like all I got to do is introduce the bill, then it'll get referred to committee, and because the system works the way it's supposed to work, I'm going to get a fair shot. I'm going to get a read. I'm going to get a hearing in my committee because my bill was referred. And it just doesn't happen that way. Like committee chairs don't even have to have hearings. They can be assigned 100 bills and say, you know what, I'd rather go fishing. Bye. And leave. And there's nothing anyone except the Speaker of the House can do about it, because the Speaker has all the authority for who the committee chairs are. So there's ways around that. I used to be pretty effective at writing letters to the Speaker, and I know really effective legislators will do this. Write the Speaker a letter about your bill as a legislator, and you can, if you're lobbying for your legislator, whoever your legislator might be, if you're lobbying for them to pass legislation, I encourage you to encourage them to write to the Speaker and specifically request which committee you want your bill sent to. A lot of people don't know that you can do that. I did. I had bills that had to do with all kinds of stuff sent specifically to committees who I knew the chair, and I knew the chair liked me well enough to respect me to give me a read, right? Many of our legislators on both sides of the aisle don't even know that that's an option, right? So if you want legislative change, step one, find the right person to introduce your bill. Find somebody who's well-respected and well-liked and has passed a lot of bills already. Right? That's the other key, because it shows that they know what they're doing, because passing a bill is very complicated. It is really complex. So find your legislators that have passed 3 or 4 or 5 active policy bills, because believe it or not, passing 3 or 4 active policy bills, not budget bills, but passing 3 or 4 policy bills in a legislative career, that 8-year span, is a heck of a lot of policy provisions for one legislator to have accomplished, especially at the rate that this General Assembly seems to be passing bills. So find people that are good at it. Find people that can move the legislation, because that in and of itself is a skill. And once you've found somebody that can move that legislation, make sure that you're doing the groundwork in support of that idea too. Talk to other members of that committee. Just because they're not your legislator doesn't mean you can't talk to them, doesn't mean you can't find somebody who will talk to them. One of the things I found to be very effective was finding constituents from their district. And if you can make friends with the constituent from their district and have that constituent from their district talk to them about the bill, that can be super effective as well. Because what we're talking about, what this organization does, and what the public policy of the state of Missouri is not a partisan matter. It's not a whole lot to disagree about. The only real rubbing point for what we do is figuring out a way to pay for it all, because what we do is fairly expensive. But what we do is so eminently good that I don't think either party can reasonably say no if it's presented in such a way that the public is aware of the idea, and we're working with, instead of against, a lot of times, our legislative policymakers in Jefferson City. I don't think this organization, when I was there, I don't think you guys ever suffered from like a bad rap or a bad reputation or anything. But Grant asked me to talk about my experience in the legislature, and that was kind of it. So I've rambled for about 30 minutes or so now. Has it been 30 or 15? Did I overshoot it? Good? Okay. So I do want to give everybody an opportunity, because I've talked a lot, and I feel like I've kind of jumped around a little bit. I've stayed as focused as I could. But does anybody have any questions so far? Yes, sir.
When you spoke about the bill with the Financial Review Committee, sometimes they can come back as revenue neutral, I think that was the term, or having also revenue impact. I can't picture what that is very well. Can you give like a general example of what a revenue neutral bill might be? Like, are you use something that generates some revenue back or not implementing it? I don't know.
It's difficult I'm trying to remember a specific example that we had. Because we had one that came back with a budget bill of like $1.25 million budget impact. And that was a bill that it was, I don't want to, okay. So we had a member of the minority caucus and a member of the majority caucus. Member of the majority caucus filed a bill. The bill was read through committee and it was given a 0 fiscal note. Member of the minority caucus wrote identical language, filed it, and it came out of fiscal review with like a $1.5 million fiscal note. So I don't know the answer to your question other than it depends on who the legislator is. That's a genuine, I can't always, they do the math on how they think that's going to impact the budget, and they can use as, from my understanding, and I don't know because I don't do it, my understanding is they can use as big or as little a window of time as they want to show a budget impact, because the sales tax thing that they're trying to pull off this year, I think, was touted as somehow being revenue neutral. So they can make the numbers say whatever they want the numbers to say, I think. And I don't mean to say that cynically, I mean to say that from a practical, in my experience, it really depends. Your fiscal note's going to be, who's carrying the bill? Yeah. I wish there were a better answer for that.
Was a committee, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the other fun part. There's a thing in the legislature called the Rule of 82, right? Which because Missouri is a sovereign government, and the sovereignty is vested in the legislative body, the governor, and the judiciary branch. That sovereignty for us, like, we don't have to do anything with it at all. And there's no accountability to the chairs. The members of the committee it doesn't matter that they're on the committee. If the chair doesn't want to bring the bill up in the committee, they can want the bill as much as they want in that committee, but the chair is the one with the authority to have the bill read in committee. And if they don't want it to happen, it ain't happening. Now, there have been times, and things get a little tense, when we had Elijah Harwith speaker. He had some public education stuff that he wanted done, and he had one or two of the bills that got referred to a committee where they don't move out of that committee, and then he later reassigned them to a new committee to get them to move, because that was just the process, because that particular committee chair wasn't going to move those bills, and the speaker wanted him moved. So the speaker moved those bills to another committee and then removed that committee chair and put somebody that would move the bills the way he wanted them moved into that new committee chair place. But that's because we have the Rule of 82, and that's because we are a sovereign body, and there's nobody that can tell the legislature how to do what they do. The speaker is essentially a dictator as long as 82 other members agree with them. It's not necessarily a bad thing that they are. I mean, you get 163 people in one room, try to get them all to agree on what they're going to have, like what time are we going to start, you're going to have 163 different answers, right? So it's set up that way for a reason. It's not set up that way to be tyrannical. It's just set up that way because 163 people all in the same room arguing about what they think the best new idea for the state is a long talk, and we've only got 4 months. So, yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. It was very eye-opening. Is it better if you wanted to start a bill to go to do a phone call to the speakers, clerk, or is it better to do a letter first or follow up with a letter? So you're not lost in the show.
That's a really good question. I was never the speaker, but my Aunt Jenny was the speaker's secretary for like 20 years. That's an odd coincidence. Over several different speakers. In 2001, maybe 2002, when the legislature turned over, she was the first secretary for the first Republican sets of speakers. And in her experience, what she would tell me was, do not pester the speaker unless you absolutely have to do it. Absolutely, absolutely. Your legislator can do most of that work, right? The speaker, because like what you said, and your thought is a thought that lots and lots and lots of people have, the speaker's office is typically inundated with requests and phone calls, and like they want him to come to this thing and put a blue ribbon on this pig, and they want him to come to this thing and crack a bottle of champagne over this boat, and they want him to come to this thing and put a bow at the top of this bridge. And all in addition to that, they've got to manage all the committees and manage all the staff and manage all the bills. It is an extremely powerful position, but it's also an extremely busy position. So if you want to get lost, if you want the thing to be kind of like pushed aside and not paid any attention to, send it to the speaker. If you want it to get paid attention to, find somebody that passes bills in the legislature. Typically committee chairs, the more powerful the committee chair, the better. So your transportation committee chair, that was usually a powerful one. Budget chair was almost always, but they're so busy with their budgets that getting them to file a policy bill was typically pretty difficult. Anything that has to do with allocating sort of certain public services. The Gen Laws got a lot of stuff through it, but the Gen Laws committee was typically the committee that they would give to the person that they were trying to groom to become the next speaker. So either Gen Laws or Judiciary would be the committee chairs that typically had a lot going on. But the workhorses when I was there were the majority ranking member on those two committees, because the chair of those committees was usually too busy. So find out whoever the second in rank order in the majority caucus is, find that person and talk to them about your legislation, and that sometimes is pretty effective. Like when I teamed up with Bruce DeGroat, he was the ranking member on Judiciary, and I was ranking member on Judiciary, and we had a chair of Judiciary who was David Gregory, and he's the chair. He was a Republican. Bruce DeGroat's ranking member, so if David can't do the meetings, Bruce fills in. And Bruce passed a lot of bills because he was ranking member on like 2 or 3 committees. And you get that job by just being a nice, friendly guy who's only got a couple of years in the legislature here, but I'm working on it, right?
And he's less likely to get as many phone calls or letters.
That's right. That's right.
So it's like a backdoor.
I would not call it a backdoor, but I would call it very intelligent and sort of a quicker way of doing things. Yes. Yeah. Who's next? Anybody?
Okay.
Yes, Grant.
So, the beauty of the American experiment is that practically any room that you walk into contains a future legislature, right?
That's exactly right. That's the purpose. That's the concept here, yeah.
And what you've told us is that part of the foundation of getting things done is having a good personality, or having a personality that others interpret as being friendly or cooperative. From a pragmatic standpoint, if that's an ambition that one of us has, or that we want to have with our relationship we want to have with the legislator, what's some key fundamental things that we can do to make sure that folks are interpreting our personality as one that's one we can do?
Everybody's got their own style. I always kind of took the impression that, like, what would I want somebody to say to me, or how would I want somebody to come to me? How would I want them to talk to me? right? And so I think the nature of your question was, if it's so like personality driven or personal driven, what's a good strategy for success? I think be genuine and be honest. Don't ever say anything about a legislator that you wouldn't say to their face. Like, the number of times people had said things, if you're in a situation where you're trying to accomplish. Now, I'm not saying that anybody should withhold their First Amendment rights. If you think that your legislator is the bleepity bleepin' bleepinest bleep ever, you're fully entitled to say all of those things. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But if you're trying to accomplish something and you're working with people who have disparate, in many ways very different, divergent ideas from you, the best thing to do is to just stick to the stuff you agree with them about, right? And that's kind of a life lesson, but it's one of those things that a lot of folks forget to remember when they get there. Part of the reason we forget to remember it is because it's so social media driven. We think of these people who are legislators as others, and I think you made a good point. I'm sure you were trying to make it too, and that this room is full of people who could run for office at any time. I was like very seriously no different from any of you here right now when I decided to start volunteering for campaigns back in 2002 when I got out of the Army, 2003 when I got out of the Army. I didn't have a law degree, I didn't have a college degree, I didn't have anything except a couple of buddies that got blown up in Iraq, right? So I just went to work for Ike Skelton as soon as I could figure out a way to get in and work your way up from there. And keeping in mind that folks who disagree with me politically probably had to put in the same amount of effort. So the practical answer is that like everybody's got their own story, but if they agree with you on one issue, be nice to them, right? Like that's kind of the golden rule of life, be nice. And it also helps to have a room full of friends or people behind you that are good enough and smart enough to remind you to be humble and to remember what you did, what the purpose of your job is there. For a lot of folks in this room don't know that Grant and I have been friends, and he was one of the few people that I would talk to from time to time about like, this thing's going on or that thing's going on. And it's, a lot of times legislators don't have that grounding influence to sort of remind you that like, hey, there's term limits here. You're gonna have to come home and live with these people. You gotta be humble. You gotta remember that you're there for them, they're not there for you. And Grant was always very good about like helping to remind me of that in a way that's very gentle and a way that helped me grow instead of a way that stymied me, right? And that's the other thing. I mean, you can help your legislators too by supporting them, right? That's another one of those things that a lot of folks don't realize how important it is to show support for an elected member of, their legislature is. And I don't know, for lack of a better way of putting it, try not to be so tribal in the partisan affiliations. Just recognize that the goal is to pass legislation. The goal is to affect the public policy. The goal is not to win some kind of Twitter battle with the Republican Party or the Democrat Party or the conservatives or the liberals. The goal is to provide support for the children of the state of Missouri, right? So, is that all? I see the more important of the speakers this morning might have just arrived. You fill up a chair pretty well, Zach. It's everybody saw you come in. Anyway, thank you all. I appreciate your time. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mark? No? All right.
Thank you.
Well, we just want to present you with a thank you gift. Mark took time out of his day to come up here for free, no charge. So let's give him a round of applause.
If anybody wants to carry on the conversation or talk more about it or wants to reach out and see if I can help them with legislative ideas, my cell phone number is 816-217-5575. Grant has it. Zach has it. Ms. Graves, do you have it? No?
I'll be sure to put it on the
Anyone, literally anyone here, get my cell phone from one of these guys. I'll say it again, 217-5575, area code 816. Call me, text me if you want me to help in any kind of a way with anything. I don't mean to sound braggadocious or anything, but if there is anything I can do, I will try. Thank you all for your time.
We are also blessed to be presented with Clay County's elected prosecuting attorney, Zach Thompson.
Thank you all for being here. I just want to begin by saying it's my understanding no one ever complained about a politician or a lawyer not talking enough. So I promise to keep my remarks very short. I wanted to welcome you to the Missouri Child Support Education Association's Kansas City's Town Hall. I wanted to thank Ashley for all the work that you put in to make this event possible. I got my start in non-support, right? When I got my first lawyer job out of law school as a non-support, I learned a lot. I still don't know as much as Ashley and Grant, but it's something near and dear to my heart. The way I look at this is we see a lot of troubling things in the prosecutor's office on a very regular basis. But here's an opportunity where we have a lot of individuals. If you're in this room, it means you're dedicated to make your community a better place. And to see these points of light shine into the darkness that we sometimes encounter in the prosecutor's office is refreshing to me. So I just wanted to say thank you for all the work you do. I'm really proud of the collaboration that exists between our office and all our state partners. It's magnificent. It makes sure that children in our community get the support that they're legally entitled to and deserve. So I want to end on that. I want to make myself and our office available to you. If you think there's a way we can work together to make a larger impact, a better impact in our community, please let me know. Yeah, don't be a stranger. Come down to the basement of the Clay County Courthouse. That's where we're at, and I'll pour you a cup of government issue coffee. So thank you very much for coming today. Thank you, Ashley.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we could take a little break here if you guys have to go to the bathroom or get refreshments before we get ready for our next speaker.
I was like, well, I said, well, I'm like, you might just.
Okay. No. I'll go ask him if he can turn it for, so everyone can hear.
Good, those happen. Um, I was like, okay,
Yeah, I got that vibe too, and I was like, I'll talk to her later.
I was like, I I just don't really know if she wants me. Oh, yeah, both.
Yes, I got it. I've been on already this morning and I verified. The Wi-Fi. Clicker? Is it plugged into yours for the USB? The other computer? So we'll put it on Chrissy's.
Oh, I don't know, she had a cord on it.
Yeah. You can test it. Yeah, we'll just wing it. It's okay. I've heard it enough times and we know it, right? So for some reason it's showing this. You want to test the thing? Yep, we're good. All right. Do you want to click or you want me to click? I don't care either. I think we're good.
No, for right now, we're all right.
No, just, I mean, how long did you do for breaks?
Just a breath.
Okay, yeah.
So I walk in my computer, and my brother was talking to me while he was working at his kitchen table. And I was like, it's no big deal. We're just going to rely on Max the mouse here and just my background and everything figure out. I was like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Which I feel like is a scientific fact that I can put into my instance presentation. You actually have a lot of change. It's definitely worth it. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we go ahead and get started. I'll everybody get situated. Sorry, I saw some people walk out, so. Okay, so we are going to do the presentation, the Max Modernization System. It was supposed to be presented by Whitney Disler. However, Whitney had an emergency, so we wish her well. And now we're going to have Gail and Christy cover for us. So if you guys can give them a big warm applause.
she asked me on the last minute to go over Max modernization for her. So we're going to do our best. We do know a lot about the project. We've been really involved, so hopefully I'll be able to answer any of your questions and do a good job as we go through. But if you have any questions or there's anything we can't quite cover for you, Whitney said to feel free to reach out to her directly and you can ask questions to her. Okay? And then co-presenting with me is Christy.
Hi, I'm Christy Burns. I've been with the state for 15 years now. I started at the very bottom and then worked my way through to paternity trainer, which has been the last year. And getting to work on a project like this has been so incredible because we can see the change and make an impact in how quickly we work through our system. So I'm excited to present this to you guys today.
So show of hands, just curious, how many people are excited about this project? Yeah? Why are you excited? What about it excites you? Just curious.
Is it going to be more user-friendly?
Sure is.
Good.
Intentionally designed.
Yeah.
Easier to train and teach staff as they can. Absolutely. For those, I'm part of the pilot, so I would say it is very hard to go to the days when you're used to Max. Just because it's so many of those restrictions that you have. So I'm having a hard time converting back to a user-friendly system now, which is weird to me. I didn't think that would happen. But our new staff that we've hired, I think are really going to benefit from, it's more familiar to them. We actually, over the years, had people come in after like 2 days of learning Max, they walked out and then come back. So
Yep.
I think this is going to help.
You might help with that, right? Yeah.
Cannot compute, huh?
Green screen and our whole different piece.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other pilot users in here? Yeah. Yeah. How's the pilot going? What do you think about pilot?
How's it going? I'm just doing my best with old Max and new Max. I've been a part of the get-togethers every Friday in the afternoon. A lot of it's repetitive, some of the same issues. So sometimes when I have the same issues that somebody else has, then
Yeah.
I don't speak up a lot on that. But
Do you mind to share with us your one cool thing you've seen using the new system? One
One
positive,
good-
one cool thing?
the fact that we don't have to go through, to get to OnBase, to get to the SOPs, and to get to the portal, and it's all right there on tabs.
Beautiful.
And you're not constantly opening a new section, going through all the prompts, but it's just right there and it gets you where you need to be.
Yeah.
I like that part of it.
Very user friendly. So we're going to go through this presentation and then feel free to ask your questions as we go through and we'll have a questions section at the very end as well. And then between the group that's here and the pilot users, hopefully again we'll be able to answer the majority of the questions today. So just curious, how many people in the room are from the Kansas City office? Okay. And how many are from Warrensburg? Where are you all from? Clay County? Okay. Okay. Anyone else we?
Which one? Gray County.
Which one?
Gray County.
Gray County? Okay. My county. Nice. Yeah, Christy was curious and I wasn't 100% sure, so I'm like, let's just ask her.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna get started. Let's go ahead and see. So this first slide is just a little bit of the overview. Max was implemented in 1997. That's quite a long time ago. But back then, green screens were kind of the thing, right? So it's a little different. A lot of people don't know all the things that Max does. As workers, a lot of the times we're just focused on what we're doing in Max, in our day-to-day. But I'm not going to read it to you. Y'all can read. But there are a lot of things that Max actually accounts for and does for us behind the scenes. Okay. Some of the benefits of Web Max, as we heard in our opening, just casual talk, usability. It's very user-friendly because it is web-based. That's just where we are as a society. We're all very comfortable with using web-based systems, so it's more intuitive, things like that. We also, and Christy can speak to some of this, I don't know if you might have noticed, but call it Dino Max, if anyone's heard of that, the green screen Max you guys are using today, kind of call it Dino Max. There was a lot of inconsistencies. Things aren't always called the same thing, screen to screen. They aren't always laid out the same way, screen to screen, because different developers worked on Max throughout the years, and so there was just a lot of inconsistencies. So with this project, they went through and they found all of those inconsistencies, and now everything will be standardized. It will all show the same way, be set up the same way. So that's really, really nice. There's also, and we'll show this on some screens that are coming up, there's searchable drop-downs. So you can go in and start searching on some of those drop-downs where you have 50 or 100 plus things to choose from in certain fields. Like you can just start searching. It's really nice, makes it a lot quicker. There's also date pickers, kind of cool, we'll show you here in a minute. There's also error-resistant fields. Do you want to talk about error-resistant fields?
Error-resistant fields right now, those messages that you see that come up at the bottom that show that you've got an error, you haven't filled out anything, or the required data, it will now highlight in red so that it's very obvious which fields you're missing. A lot of that was carried over from the old system, the way that it worked. But you'll now have a direct access to your forms. Instead of having to put view on the command line, you'll be able to click a button that says form and move on over to OnBase with ease. So any place where they could have reduced the number of steps for you to get from one place to another, they've tried to implement that. And then obviously she was mentioning being able to have the longer field names, so we don't have to go searching as often for what the fields stand for. I think that'll make training new employees a whole lot easier because of the fact that they're gonna, kind of have a knowledge of what that field is, and it's gonna be the same on the 3 different screens that they visit. So that'll be really, really helpful. He mentioned our global headers, which is something that I'm super excited about because then now you don't have to go to the intranet, you can just access it from directly inside of the application. So it has made it a lot more user-friendly. You do get an improved menu with the new WebMax, and that looks like a lot of folks didn't even realize that there was a menu that existed prior, right? When you first come into the very first screen, you see a list of numbers, and then that's your menu options. You could actually push a number and then go, now it's all clickable. You can save up to 15 of your favorite screens that you're going to regularly so that they will be retained for you. So we're really excited about a lot of these user-friendly upgrades. But it is also now accessible. So that accessibility will also, expand our ability to be able to take on new staff members that we might not have been able to take on before. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
One other thing I remembered with the error-resistant fields, dates. They went through everywhere there's a date, and if the date needed to be today, it will only let you choose today. It won't let you choose in the future or in the past, it will only choose today. If it needs to be a past date, same thing, or a future date. So that also goes along with some of those error-resistant fields to keep us, help keep us from making some errors, specifically with dates, so that's kind of cool too.
Callie, you got a question?
We also have the very out boxes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
If you don't have certain things selected, it won't let you select the button to go to your next screen. So it's kind of like it makes them think, okay, what do I have to have selected to make that button accessible and turn blue so that I can click it and go to the appropriate screen. So just
The way that it's set up. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yeah, tries to help you reduce your errors in your case processing.
I also want to add that the design was made, humans read left to right, top to bottom, and that's how the screens are now designed with the layout of information. So your eyes naturally flow and read maps.
So that's a good point. And we're going to say this a few times as we go through, but I think Rachel opened the door to saying this. It's still Max, right? Like, it's still Max, it still operates the same, it's still the same in the background. It just got a facelift, The screens were organized in such a way that they're more user-friendly. The things that we need are kind of brought to the top. You don't have to tab 20 times to the bottom to get to the one thing that you really need, generally speaking, on a screen, and things like that. But it's still Max. It's still Max. It still operates the same. It just might be laid out slightly different. You might navigate slightly different, but really, it's still Max. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not like it's a whole new system. It's still Max. Just set up a little nicer. Okay.
go that way.
So here's a visual. I know this is kind of hard to see, but we have a comparison side by side of what it looks like today, the green screen's mainframe, and then what it's going to look like. So it's just a nice, clean, web-based layout. Instead of prompting out, we're going to have those little menus. And instead of, the U or the A, things like that on the command line, as you can see those little dark blue boxes kind of on the top right. That's what we're going to be using instead. We'll go through that as we go through. So again, we have the old 90s design, use F keys to navigate. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still thinking over what you said about that we can't do a feature day of something. There's been times when we've had child support that is $0 during the summer months, and then it kicks back to what current support is for the school year. I do ways, so when we do those, when we get a new application, and that's the way the order is written, we'll go in and we will plug in those dates far enough along, because we don't want to overcharge, have no payment anymore.
If the functionality exists today, it will exist in the future. So all of those were looked at screen by screen and function by function for what was needed. So if it works that way today, it should work that way in the future. It would just keep us from making errors. So they looked at it. Christy was part of the systems unit before she came to the training unit, so she might be able to speak to this a little bit. Each screen was gone through, and everything that's needed to be completed, any kind of work that needed to be completed on the screen was thought through. And now we have the pilot going to catch any mistakes or anything like that or bugs before we roll it out live for everybody in October. So there are people doing those info weights and things like that right now in the pilot, so to make sure everything's going to go smoothly. So we had the systems team who initially set it up, and then now we have the pilot users actively using it. So we're going to make sure that it's good to go for you in October. Because that's not an error, right? That's something you do every day. So you should still do it.
But I'm just afraid that it might see it as an error.
Okay. Well, you can email Whitney with that
Yes.
specific question,
Yes.
just to make sure. Yeah.
Most definitely. Back.
Yeah, so it's hard to see, but a lot of the codes are abbreviated because there were space issues on the green screen mainframe, so a lot of things are abbreviated. And that's hard to know always what, especially for new staff, what in the heck we were talking about. We don't have the same space issues with the web-based, and so we were able to completely put the entire word and things like that, which will really help new staff, or for things that you don't do very often and trying to remember what an abbreviation meant. So here it is a little bit bigger, so you'll notice kind of the layout of the screen, and as we go through, they're going to break up sections, and we'll go through some of these sections in a little bigger detail. But as an overview, you can see at the top, each page is going to be set up the same, so at the very top, it's kind of what they call it in systems is the global header. Okay? So those are always going to be the same. The fast path, so we can do the quick transit, you guys call this?
Like your command line in Max right now, that's your fast path. It's user-friendly tran code or your short tran code. So you can do either, just like you could in regular Max. And then we've got right below that our disclaimer message. That'll be any error, if they need to put tax information up there at the top, you'll see those messages. That information will show. And then the next part is our little inquire button over there on the right-hand side. And that's going to be equivalent to our enter button. So whenever we would normally hit enter on a screen to be able to inquire on a case number, now we're going to be able to hit enter or hit that inquire button. So, and then our next little section there is our header of all of our page information. So what's nice about this is that they've moved a lot of the fields. Prior to this project, we were able to tell on a field or on a screen whether you can update a field or not based on whether there is an underline underneath it, right? So if there was not an underline under that data, they tried really hard to move it all into the top. So you don't even have to consider that as far as your tabbing order goes. You can go straight to the data and be able to update exactly the fields you need without having to tab through a bunch of fields that you weren't going to update anyway, right? So then your lower section down there is much cleaner, much nicer, has everything spelled out, applies your date pickers, your drop-down menus. You'll also see what's called a modal pop up every once in a while, and we'll talk more about that here in a moment. But then down at the bottom, you have any of your toast messages. So your toast messages are messages that the system is trying to tell you in the moment, right? So if I need more information, that's going to pop up as a toast message. If I, didn't do something on that screen. But you now also have your pagination in the bottom right-hand corner so that you can go from page to page. And the cool part about that is we did retain some of the F keys, so those are still on F keys. If you're used to using our old system, then you'll be able to just seamlessly flow through that part of the process.
So those toast messages, I know some of this one, the first time I heard it, I was like, what?
What's going on?
So the toast message would be like successfully added, or those things that you're used to seeing at the bottom now in Mac.
Successfully displayed.
Yeah, successfully displayed,
Yeah.
whatever. That's that toast message at the bottom. That's just sort of the system's lingo for that.
And those stay, right?
Yes.
Yes,
They
those stay.
And the pagination is just page control. So page forward, page back.
Yep.
Forwards and backwards. So plain language, that's what that means.
Love it.
Okay.
Any questions?
The way you explain to me a toast message, it pops up like toast, in a toaster.
Yeah.
That's what makes it for me.
The toast pops up in a toaster.
It's a good visual. Okay. So here's a little bigger view of specifically the global page header at the top. So as we spoke about before we got going, some of the pilot users were saying how nice it was that you could just have everything right there. That's what you can see. We're going to break that down here in the next slide, but in the very middle, you see the resources. Christy, I'll let you get this one.
The resources at the top, they were allowed to choose 6. So they chose the things that they thought would help you the most in your job. So that's why you've got your OnBase, your SOP, your QRG policy manual, and your child support portal. So, because those are the resources that we're going to go to most often, and we want everyone to have quick access to those things, which again takes you from where you have to make extra clicks over on the intranet to now you can just pop it open inside of the application. It's very nice.
As you see at the very top right, there's a new session button. You can still have 4 sessions, just like you're used to with the Macs that you use today. But they will be web pages, so it's just a little different, but same idea. You have your 4. You'll see your user profile, the menu button to take you back to the menu, time and date, which you're used to. The help, you guys see the help over there? It works.
Yes.
So, a lot of pages had help or F1 to bring up the screen index, and it doesn't work. It hasn't worked for quite some time. It works now. So the help will work. It will bring up the screen index right there for you. So that's going to be really nice too. For those of you that are familiar with the screen index, very, very helpful. And then, you have your fast path, which you're used to. Okay.
Transcode and user-friendly transcode are the words I was looking for earlier.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So the menu, which a lot of people probably don't use in today's version of Macs, it's just not very user-friendly. With the web-based, you're able to have favorites. I think we all like doing favorites and customizing things, right? So now, depending on your job duties, you can go through and you can favorite 15 of your screens. So this is totally customizable, which is really nice. So this is a new navigation feature. I think a lot of people will find this very, very useful, being able to favorite. I think also for thinking from training aspect with new hires, as they're not, totally familiar with all the screens and things like that, being able to favorite them will help them remember where you got them.
They are added in your favorite bar in the order which you add them, so.
Okay. Good to know.
So this is a breakdown of the resources in a little bigger view. So we have OnBase, which is really nice. Your resources are just all right there, just one click away. And do they open quicker? I feel like sometimes they open quicker on, I've heard that.
Depends on the
No,
survey
okay.
response.
Okay, all right.
I heard they're linking strips there too.
They're-
Oh,
yes.
nice, beautiful. That'll be helpful.
Scripts.
Scripts.
That's a rumor though.
Just a rumor.
I don't know, I'm not seeing it.
Not confirmed.
Okay, so you have your global header, and then I was talking about a header earlier. This is actually called a banner. So your banner is where all your information that's static on the page will live. And it makes it really easy whenever you're trying to go to a page to look at information, being able to see that information presented right at the top.
Yeah, so like if it's, I know this is really tiny, but it'll tell you, if it's a judicial order, administrative order, things like that. Really helpful information will just present right in the banner, which I think you all will find very useful. The family violence indicator, a lot of really pertinent case information just at a glance in the banner. Very, this is probably actually one of my favorite things that they've done is having the information.
Is that banner on every screen or just certain
I
screens?
don't believe, only if it's required, like only if it was necessary for that screen. Some screens are just action screens, so you won't have a banner on those screens, but for like all your case screens, usually that they will present with the banner, yes. And my favorite part about, I know it's weird, but my favorite part about it is before in the system, you could see family violence was red. They made the ability to be able to make it into a little button so that it's red as well, but it's like more prominent on the web page than it ever was in Max, so.
Yeah.
Say that again? Oh, and it's got a little flag? Yeah. Yeah, because to make it accessible, we don't only want to rely on color, we're also relying on that icon to be able to direct folks who are maybe colorblind, right? So.
Did you have a question?
Is there a button for permission?
Permission.
A button for
Like you have, I have family violence, there's a button push.
Not a button, but you could filter through diary and see permissions. Yeah, I'm not aware of a button for permission.
No, that would-
If it didn't exist in Green Screen Max, it's not currently. They made some minor enhancements, but nothing to that extent, so. All right, so we've got some of our changes in our input fields here. And we've got, the first thing that we'll have, you'll see is radio buttons. And that allows a selection. You just get one selection, okay? So now, there were some screens, I wanna say, was it Matter, where you could select multiple, and in what world are we actually gonna need to add 2 addresses at one time? So they went through and determined which one would need the radio button versus which one will need the next level down, which is your checkboxes. Checkboxes do allow us to make multiple selections on a screen if it's appropriate. So those are the differences between the two, the square and the circle that you will see, is whether it's one selection or multiple. And then we also have our text fields here. It has the little I next to it, which will now provide information about that screen, or any additional information about that field if it's required. So we also have our date picker, which is a whole lot more convenient than just typing in the date if you're used to using date pickers. So it will default to today, but like Gail was mentioning, there are some instances in which it won't allow you to choose a certain date based on the way that Max is set up, and that is intentional. They're trying to do that in order to be able to prevent mistakes. So we also do have a time picker. That's pretty fun, especially whenever you're in like appointment setting and things of that nature. And then our searchable drop downs. The thing that I found very interesting about this is that we're gonna gray out any inactives, because prior you could go to a screen and see that there were so many options, but you couldn't quickly identify which ones were available and which ones were expired, other than looking thoroughly at that date, right? Now it'll just show up as a grayed out bar. You can't use that, or it's being used by processing, so it's not something that you can choose. But it is still in the menu. And when you search these drop downs, like she was mentioning, 50 options, it will quickly bring back whatever it was that you were looking for.
Is it 15 or 25 where you can start typing for the search
I think it's
I
15.
think it's 15. I'm not the systems guru, I'm just filling in, but I believe if there's over 15 options,
Yes.
then you can type in to
Searchable.
search, which makes it a lot easier. But if it's less than 15, then it'll just show you the full document. Okay?
I just want to clarify, make sure I'm thinking correctly, because if it is, I'm super excited. So like when we input, like when we're picking for wages on 14, and like if I try to say, oh, we verified it with this, and then I get the error message that says, can only be used by manual processing.
Yeah.
Like, why is it an option?
It's
Yeah.
not going to be an
Yeah.
option. I know, right? Yes, thank you. Because that's a headache whenever you get through all that work and then you just get an error message.
Yeah.
And so they've really like tried to hit the UX hard, the experience of using this to be able to make it as user-friendly as possible. Yeah.
Do I still have the option to just mark everything other?
I mean,
Hey, you're probably, yeah.
unfortunately, the UX doesn't fix logic, right? Human logic. But if that's what you're doing, do it anyway, right? All right, the next thing we have to talk about here is modals. So sometimes where you would expect to be a drop down, it's not going to be a drop down, it's going to be a modal. And the reason for that is it's sourcing to another screen. If it just sources to a reference code list, it will be one of the two drop down options. If it goes to a completely different screen, like let's say you're on a screen and you prompt out and you want to pick a member, it's going to take you back to Camel, right? That's going to pop up as a modal, which is a separate window inside of your window that allows you to make that choice, confirm your selection, and then move forward.
It's like a pop-up.
Yeah, pop-up. Yep. Yep. And then we do also have the warning modals. Those are just messages that will let you know if there's an issue, what you know, or if you want to confirm or delete or update, then it'll pop up to give you the information that you need.
This one is a big one for me. Learning the different functions as I've, through my career in transport, I go to the screen index a lot, you know, to help me learn things, remember what's needed, figure it out. You always had to navigate there, you know. I had to go there so much. But now, it'll just, if you're on a screen and you have a question, the F1 and the help will work, which I think is a great asset and will really help our staff specifically.
Yeah.
It will be updated.
Yeah, and the entire QRG and screen index are being updated along with this project, so it will all be, so if you had questions about how a screen worked or how some part of the QRG worked and you want to make sure it's still going to happen once that's released, take a peek. If it doesn't work like you think it should, then reach out to Whitney and see if there's some functionality issue. But we've tried really hard to be able to make all of this match up and align across the board so that everything is as user-friendly for you all as possible.
And the QRG is going to look different. It's getting a facelift as well.
Yep.
So it will have a more modern look and a bit of a facelift.
Love it.
Who all voted on the mouse? Did you guys
Anyone?
vote
Anyone?
on the mouse?
No.
You guys familiar? So I believe it came out in the CS Connections newsletter initially and with some of the information about this project. And there was a link for a survey and we invited everyone to vote. We had a few different options for a mascot for the WebMax project. And so for those of you that voted, this little guy is the one that won. So that's our little Max the Mouse. He's super cute. He shows up in our communications about this project. So it's kind of fun. Right now we're in pilot. We've been in pilot for a little while. We have a few pilot users here with us today. That's just making sure before we go live that actual users are working in the system to find things. Finding bugs, finding little things that just didn't quite work out like they anticipated. It's a big project, and so a pilot is very vital to make sure that everything goes well for go live in October. Okay, so our pilot users, thank you very much. To those of you that are in pilot, it's vital.
Yes.
Yep. So right now we're actively in pilot. We're going to have basically 3 pilots. They rolled out the series of screens throughout the pilot. We're getting ready to head into the 3rd, which is the final pilot, the last release of screens. Once we wrap up pilot, the next piece will be training. So the training is for the child support staff is in movers. You guys hopefully have signed up for a session. If you have not, you probably want to talk with your supervisor about that, make sure and get yourself in a session. And that's going to be the first week of September. Okay? We're also going to be training the PA and circuit clerk staff. We're going to have Teams and WebEx sessions, multiple sessions available for folks to come and do the training. Okay? And then we are going to go live October 5th. You are going to have on-site support, additional support every office. The child support offices will have additional support. You have your office manager who's been part of your pilot, your training supervisor, and then your pilot users. So those are kind of your super users, and they're going to be there to assist along with your additional on-site support. And if there's anything that goes haywire, then systems will be there to help if anything gets a little wonky. Okay?
Are you saying someone's gonna come to each individual court and work with the max users?
Child support offices, our focus child support offices, not the boards, not for PAs and circuit clerks.
So when do they get the training?
The training is the first couple of weeks of September. We have multiple sessions for circuit clerks and multiple sessions for PA.
Online?
Yes.
Okay.
For like Teams and WebEx.
And okay. And they have to register their movers?
No, that's just for the, sorry that I wasn't clear when I said that. Yeah, we have a system called Movers that is just for our child support staff. You need to get a hold of Nikki Hartley, your liaison, if you have any questions. And we'll make sure you join the session. But yeah, we'll be there for the whole week. You'll have a whole entire week of support. We know that it's going to slow things down. It's a new system, right? It's a lot to be used to. It looks different. I mean, even though it's still Max, it still operates the same, still essentially the same. It's just prettier, more user-friendly. It's a change, and we understand that. So we're going to have people on site to help you. I think my personal advice is just know that you're going to be a little slower for a few days. You know, it's a change. Your eyes are used to going to, your muscle memory. You have habits of how we use old Macs, especially for those of you that have been here for any amount of time. Okay? You'll get used to the new system too, but it's going to take you a little bit of time. So just know those first few days, it's still Macs. You have people there to help you. It's going to be fine. Yes, you're going to be a little bit slower, and that's okay. I mean, it's a new system. We can't expect you to be doing the same speed and everything just right out of the gate. So just take your time, learn the system, ask questions to your on-site support. I would suggest now a lot of offices, I don't know if you're doing this, Rita, they're going to put you on the spot, but are you showing your office anything out of the pilot?
Yes,
Okay.
and we're working with our two gurus to shadow, yeah.
Good, yeah, so you guys get a little visibility, kind of have an idea of what's coming, and get to ask a few questions and things like that before we get there, right? So that's a great thing. How about circuit clerks and PAs? Are you showing anyone in your office yet? Or?
Just the people that are part of the pilot.
Okay. We've had good feedback from just kind of bringing people together for maybe 15 minutes and just kind of giving a tour and showing some of the, highlighting some of the things, kind of get people accustomed to it, let them ask some basic questions because they're curious. And I think it helps alleviate some of the anxiety of what's coming. Any questions about pilot, training, or go live? Good.
Okay, so we're a small court.
Uh,
We're not gonna have the right there support. So if I'm going through this and I don't know what the hell I'm doing, who am I supposed to ask?
Your liaison is Nikki Hartley.
Okay, but she's not gonna be there, right?
You're not going to have on-site support. We don't have enough staff to be in unfortunately, be in all of those locations, but you'll have your liaison to contact for some help if you get stuck. And you're going to have your training, which you'll be able to go through and actually play in the system. We have a training region where you can kind of go in and fill around and navigate around and see what's going on. But you'll have contact for assistance if you get stuck. I think the main thing to remember is it's still Max. It's not a new system. It's still the Max system. It still operates and is laid out like Max. It just looks like a web page now. So it's not going to be dramatically, drastically different. It's just your eyes are used
person.
I bet you're gonna love it. It's just gonna be a bit of a change, and I think just go slow, right? Just it's gonna be there. If it was there before, it's gonna be there. If you need it, just might be in a slightly different location. Drop down instead of prompt out, small things like
I
that.
think that's all it takes is to slow it down. I went to go sit with a team member that was struggling, and we were on cases, and I was like, I called Whitney, and I was like, you did not put interstates like that on here. She was like, Rachel, I designed that screen. And I was like, it is not on here. She said, look, to the left. And I was like, oh, God.
There it is.
You just have to retrain your eyes. That's all I called her.
I wish she was nice. Hands off. It's not even a muscle memory with my hands, it's the muscle memory with my eyes. Because I'm used to looking at certain things, certain fields that are a certain color, and that's been my biggest obstacle, but like I said, all right, hands off. I'll be line by line until I crush it.
Change brings anxiety. That's normal, right? Change oftentimes brings anxiety. So I think your feeling's valid and normal. But from the pilot user's feedback, from my own experience using it, and exactly what I think, I feel exactly the same way as Kelly. It's just habit. You know, it's still Max. It's still the same. It's just that it's slightly different on some of the screens, and you know, instead of prompting out and things like that, just some small navigation differences. But really, it's still Max. So that's important. Yeah.
The first week in September, we can have a training, really multiple opportunity to make trainings.
Yes.
So you can watch and take,
For all groups, there's multiple sessions.
so we can adjust our calendars.
Yes.
Yes, that's why we offered multiple sessions.
Beautiful.
You know, sorry, you know, you might find it hard to believe, but you know, because my hair isn't great. But, you know, I was around when we first rolled out to Max, 12,000, however long ago. And I can't even remember what old system we used before that. And I think what makes the new system is everybody likes to throw out terminology. Like, if you don't know about web, whatever that is, you kind of think, well, I'm stupid. Nah, it's just a different name.
Yeah.
And so you're, you know, a green screen. Did I even know that Max was a green screen? It's just a screen that was there. So I'm overlooking all the new words that people are using. At the end of the day, it's still the same thing. You go to this screen, you click on this, and so you don't know this thing you're clicking on is really called like that toast or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because people know that terminology doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to learn it.
So in training, this is just me, and I felt pretty big on this. I like to use plain language with people, especially when we're learning and training. So when you have your training, you will find that we might reference toast or the more systems IT words, but we're going to be speaking to you all in plain language.
Message that pops up at the bottom.
Yeah,
You know?
because I think it's important, right? It's not everyone's familiar with this terminology, and I think that's a really good point. And I really appreciate you bringing that up. I appreciate that. But yeah, we're going to be speaking and training in very plain language. And if anyone ever uses a term that you're unfamiliar with, please say, hey, what does that mean? What are you talking about? We will gladly take a second and explain. I promise you, if you have that question, other folks have
Yeah,
that
and then I
question.
heard that now the new way you use your mouse more than
Yeah.
whatever. I always use my mouse because I didn't go the cool way that probably maybe 75% of the people do.
Yeah.
Because that's the way they were taught.
Yeah.
Whereas I remember we didn't have a mouse till, I don't know, we got some kind of new computer.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we had, when I first started, I don't think we had.
Well, that's why our mascot is a mouse,
Yeah,
because
so
you can
now,
use your
to
mouse
me,
now.
That's the way you
Yeah.
should do it, is by the mouse as opposed to,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
you can click.
You can still tab if you're comfortable with tabbing, if that's your comfort level, you can still tab, okay? So you can still tab, that's fine. A few of the very universal, and I'm not going to get too into this because I'm not Whitney and this is just me doing my best here. Some of the universally known F key function keys were retained. Very few. The ones that are universal, not special to what we use them for in Max, but that are universal. There's a small handful, and we'll go over those in more detail when I have the training material. I don't want to wing that one. But there are a few F keys that were retained as well. Okay, and if things before were an F key. A lot of times what you're going to see now is there'll be a button. So instead of doing the F key, there'll be a button to do the action instead of doing the F key. So it's a lot more user friendly. Honestly, it's just a small change to get used to. You're looking for the button instead of that F key. Anything else? Any other questions? Yeah.
Is there going to be still the opportunity to use hotkeys? So if you program a key to do something, and you hit that key?
I'm going to turn away from this conversation.
You got your keyboard wire for sound too.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm also.
No. The answer is no, unfortunately. I tried really hard. I fought in the ring till the end of my blood coming out of my mouth and everything, so.
And I will say, I was kind of brought up in one of our pilot meetings, and some of us have certain keys that like complete actions for us, and if you have that key set up for however long, and you may not remember how to do it anymore, because you've been doing that S key, I probably learned how to do it now, because it's going to take.
Yeah, how many of you had your enter button set up to the new line so you didn't have to tab through every single field? And it just would go to the, gonna have to retrain. I'm retraining myself right now on how to do that because I took that functionality out of old Macs so that I could go ahead and get used to having to tab instead of being able to press the enter button, so.
Maybe some of your hands.
Yeah, quick question. On Macs, some people like to change the color of their screen.
They
Is
do.
that possible with the new architecture?
So we are CAD compliant now, which will allow people who are unsighted or low-sighted to use the system. And to be CAD compliant, we cannot alter the colors, but we will have dark mode. For those of you that have been asking, by GoLive. That is so you'll be able to do the light version like you've seen displayed during this presentation. But if you prefer the dark mode, that will be an option, but those will be really the only two options. Yeah.
What about making words bigger?
I know that's come up a lot.
There were,
Yeah,
that's where the WCAG.
Yeah.
So now that your web Max is in a browser, you will be able to use standard scrolling features. It's making all the adjustments to make sure all the fields show up correctly and everything like that. Your diary notes and all that show up right. And they are working through that so that we can elevate the size of our text to be able to accommodate whatever we're looking for.
By the time we get you training, we should be able to speak more to that. Because of pilot, there's still a few small changes and a few small things coming. But by the time you get to your training, we'll be able to speak to those things.
Yes.
Good question. Anything else? Yeah.
Will we be able to use macros still?
Kind of. So what it's going to be is FSD approved macros. It's not going to be go in, create your own macro, and then slap it in. So you may want to keep like Notepad or something open with the macros that you use that are not FSD approved, so you can just copy and paste them. But for the purposes of trying to reduce errors on cases, we have now made it a standard to have that macro approved before it gets put into the library of options you can choose.
You have a library of macros to choose from. And so that, I know an issue that's come up over the last few years of people using the wrong macro, right? So this will eliminate that because it'll be built into your system, which is a benefit. And you can always copy and paste. So if you have things you do all the time that you need to use, you can put it in a Word doc or a Notepad, and you can just copy and paste. So you can still do it, just not quite the same way.
So you're saying the mandated macros, I'll call them the mandated macros, you're not going to be responsible for going and typing them in yourself? That's going to be, we'll be able to hit the macro buttons and then get a drop down and click that. And we can assume that it is correct because...
Well, the template will be there. You'll still have to type the data.
Oh, yeah, but
Okay,
the
okay.
basic is
But the
just
macro
like-
itself, yes.
So
Yep.
now it's going to be, it has to be right because I clicked on it and
Yes.
I'll say our leadership team in Jefferson City, we always pick on them. They have it in there, so if I clicked, it has to be right.
Yep.
Okay, filling it in is on me, but the basic format is.
Yep.
Yes.
So that's a
That's
good
really
one.
great.
It'll take away the errors, right? Yeah.
And as always, if you see issues with a macro that you want to bring to light, just send that up and we'll review it.
All right, that is really, you know, you did a really great call that you used incorrect macros, so that's.
Right.
So
Yep.
Does on a page that requires a macro, does it not allow you to type in rather than, you know, first you have to, in order to put something on that sheet, you have to hit the macro, so it prints, you know, so you can fill it in. But I have seen a lot of people who don't even use macros, they just put in a little, few sentences, and it's like, oh, where's the macro? And so.
Macros are still required where they're required, none of that has changed, so that would be a worker error. No, it doesn't have the ability to stop that kind of an error. That's a worker error, that's not like a system. Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't stop those kinds of errors. Anything else? You guys have been asking some great questions. Okay, let's see what's next. This is not.
That's it.
Okay, that's it.
You were on the last slide.
Yeah.
Callie?
Can you talk about my absolute favorite feature, and that's our graphic on there?
Oh, yeah.
We're graphic.
Forget the biggest things.
You want to tell them about what?
Yeah, go for it.
So, my biggest pet peeve on a diagram is seeing the word wrapping and a word broken in half. And
Gotta, like-
trying to follow all the way around to make sense of what's been said on there. And now that feature, it makes it to where if your word doesn't fit all the way on the line, it'll automatically go ahead and
Wraps to the next page, or next line. Yeah, that's beautiful. I do love that. Yes, yay.
I also want to add, during the presentation for the training, it is being referred to as WebMax, but as of October 5th, it is just going to be referred to as Max, because the green screen Max is going away, so it'll no longer be called WebMax.
Yeah,
It'll
so right now
just
we need to make it, be able to make the difference between the two, the old system and the new system, but once we go live, it is just the system. Okay. Good point. Yeah?
Will we be able to edit diagrams after we send it?
From what I've been told,
Within 24 hours?
you could, a worker can update their own diary notes same day.
That's delightful.
And I want to thank, because now that we have a different department that wants to give you an error if you don't use the correct acronyms, when everybody knows it's just a typo, well, yeah, it might be a typo, but maybe you put down, you're trying to put PA and you use, I don't know, you did an incorrect abbreviation there that changes the name. Your only other choice is you have to go to your supervisor and ask your supervisor to go through and do all your typo corrections. And so I think this is a really good.
Yeah, I was actually,
Speaking of your typos now, you have autocorrect or the little red squiggles that tell you in your diary note if you misspelled the word. Now, of course, you'll get your red squiggles on some of our abbreviations, but it'll tell you on your note when to keep this out.
if the word itself is wrong, yeah.
Yeah, and you're gonna see some information sprinkled out about every 2 weeks about the project. You'll see some cool information shared, screenshots shared, things like that through CS Connections and the OCM team. It has a special newsletter coming out as well. And so they both come out once a month, but the way that they've staggered it, it's approximately every 2 weeks. So please make sure you're taking a moment to open those and look at them, because you're going to get a lot of cool information and updates about the project and some little tidbits. Okay? And then leading up to training. And then when you come to training, we'll be very thorough. We'll go through everything with you, and we can give you time to go into the training region and play around a little bit and navigate and get your hands on the keyboard before we actually go live in the system. Okay? And you can ask all the questions you want of your trainers. They're there to help, so if you think of things, they come up, you're curious or you want to clarify, please ask your trainers. They want to help you. They want to answer your questions, so don't hold back on your questions in training.
How many trainers do you plan on having per office?
It's not like that. We set up sessions, so
No, I mean, when they come to the field, you know, when we go live.
you're gonna have your office manager and your training supervisor and your 2 users. We consider those your 4 super users in each office, and then you're gonna have one
Pressure,
on.
guys.
No pressure at all. It's fine. And then you're gonna have at least one on-site support. Okay, and then during training, we're gonna talk about if people have questions, the chain to work through before we reach out to systems and things like that. So this is just an overview. This is by no means everything. This is just a very high level overview. We have more information coming out, we have training coming and things like that. So again, this is just the overview.
Get your capes ready, super users.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Gail and Chrissy, let's give them a round of applause.
I guess I can leave it hooked up, can't I?
So we're gonna take another break, if everybody could be back about 10:55, 11 o'clock. We'll have our last presentation before lunch.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I think it's hilarious. I'm just so glad she put the bad word in the letters.
I know. Oh, no, I love it. I know it. I love it. No, I'm sitting there going, okay, is that what the paper says? And I love it.
Oh, we've got. What time is it? I'll take 5 minutes because I want to. Excuse me. Oh, no, I'm sorry. My name is Christy.
And together we are
The Office Yappers.
Okay. And so if you thought you were coming here today and you were gonna sit through our session and it was gonna be real quiet, maybe a little sleepy, you're wrong, okay? We wanna hear from you. Today is not just about me and Christy talking and sharing our experiences, we want to hear from you too. So if you get that feeling and you're like, ooh, I really wanna pitch in here and I really wanna add to this, do it, okay? Raise your hand, speak out, whatever you wanna do. Today is about inclusion, okay? All right. So we are going to talk about thriving and cultivating a positive workplace culture. And so as we kind of begin and we go through today, I really want you guys to listen, just soak it in, let it marinate, and understand that today, and I know you don't want to hear it, today is an opportunity for growth, okay? We are growing, we are learning together. Now, the next thing to talk about is our circle of control, okay? So we've got the one in the middle to control your own thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. Okay, so your decisions, mindset, mood, and your work ethic. And then we have our influence circle. So other people's feelings, your productivity at work, whether you get promoted, other people's actions, and whether people like you or not. And then we have that outer layer, the concern. The weather, the traffic, the news, the call volume, a lot of different factors that go into effect here. And so all of those circles and all of those rings are going to impact the way that you're operating at work, right? And so today, I really want us to focus on the things that we can control. So it's kind of like when you're in your meetings and you're talking with your boss and she's like, what can I do to help you? And my response is usually, 3-day weekend, man. And her response is usually, hey, something that I can help you with. I can't help you with that. Gotcha, right. Okay, what can we control? So I know that when we talk today, there are going to be some things that do impact our culture and the way that we operate. Ask yourself this. Are those things that we can control? Can Callie and Christy control those before we start spitting them out, okay? What can we control?
So we have been identified as the Office Yappers, and we love other yappers, okay? Today is about inclusion, as Callie mentioned, and we want to hear from you. So the first question is, what is workplace culture? What does that mean to you? And why do we need to define it? Anybody have any suggestions?
I think workplace culture is the environment that has been created in your everyday surrounding with your coworkers.
What you show up to every day, yeah. And so why is it important that we know what that is and put some awareness on it?
I think it's important to know what it is, so that you know, well, what you can contribute to it, you know, what you're walking into every day, what you can do to maybe positively affect it, and just so that it's a benefit for everybody in the office.
Yeah, you're pretty spot on here. The definition is a shared set of values, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors that define our organization's environment and dictate how employees interact and work together, right? It is important that we have this general understanding, right, of what workplace culture means to us. Because if you are going to communicate about it effectively, and you are going to measure it, and you are going to work to improve it, you do need to know what that is, okay? It's also very, very important, as she mentioned, that we, as our individuals, we understand what we contribute to our workplace, okay? Each of us plays a very direct role in shaping our environments. We're not some huge Fortune 500 company, right? So every single person's investment matters. And while leadership can set expectations, right, they tell us, kind of guide us how to go, the true culture of our workplace is built through our daily actions, our attitudes, and our interactions. A positive environment does start with each of us choosing to contribute to it. So how many of you all are shocked by that? The fact that it's not leadership, it's us. Anybody? Anybody? No?
It shocked me a little at first. And then I started looking into it, bigger picture, and actually, you're kind of right, it is up to me. They give me the tools, and they show me how to do it, but then it's up to me to come back to my office, back into my cubicles while I'm working with my coworkers, and implementing them there. That's my job.
I got the power, right? Like, for real. I do listen to that one on repeat so that I can remember who's in control, okay? And this up here definitely helps you kind of get to that place of where did you get your happiness from? I created it myself, okay? I created the environment that I want to be in.
All right, so we've kind of already determined that workplace culture is going to affect how we communicate with each other, what our productivity looks like, how we're serving our customers. And so once we're all aligned on that, and we're all on the same path, we get better results. We start communicating a little bit better. Next thing I know, my productivity is really good. It's really high because I've started communicating with my coworkers and they've started pointing things out. Hey, you're kind of doing this wrong. I was a little bit more susceptible to their feedback too at that point, right? Because I've built that relationship with them. They're able to help me out. I'm producing better numbers. My communication is better. I'm able to assist and provide to my team in my office because we're all on the same page. We're all there. And so we're going to throw out a little statistic, okay? So according to Gallup, companies that prioritize workplace culture see a 33% increase in revenue compared to those that don't. Now, I want to remove the word revenue, and I want to put in the word collections. Imagine that. A 33% increase on collections. That's a big one, right? So if we all get together and we all get our heads on the same path and we start communicating better and we work together, we can see that increase. So not only are you feeling it as an individual and your office starts to feel it as a team, but then your clients start to feel it as well. And they feel like we're better serving them because we're all on the same page. Isn't that what you want? It's what I want. And then, so while we may be seeing it, our executive leadership is seeing it too. And so another survey, 92% of our business leaders agreed that building that strong company culture is crucial for our organizational success. And if you don't believe my 92%, believe them. Do you guys believe that? Yes. So they are feeling it too. They see it too. What do you guys think? Do you guys think culture is important? Do you think it impacts your day-to-day and how you operate? Well, let's take a quick poll and find out. And so if this loads properly, yes, yes, yes. We've done this 3 times now.
It finally worked, yes.
Go ahead and pull your phones out and scan that little QR code, and I want you to tell us, do you believe you can impact workplace culture? I'll touch down. Ooh, 100% yes so far.
You're short enough.
Okay, cool.
Oh, we gotta know. We gotta know.
We need more qualifying questions, more, you gotta, sometimes life is not yes or no.
So then let me ask you this, because I don't want to put anybody on the spot. If the person is brave enough that voted no, do you want to explain your no? Or if anyone maybe didn't pick the no, but maybe you can understand their point of view? Anybody want to elaborate on the no?
I mean, I can see the point, because I know, we kind of experienced a little bit about, which I might be throwing myself out schools here, but I'm a big believer in just emailing, like, even if you're in another office and being like, hey, I saw you were doing this, are you still doing this, because I don't want to like override you, because I duplicate, whatever. And there for a while, I don't know if it's still this way, because I'm still kind of still email, but there for a while, we weren't supposed You get some people who obviously use that, and then you get some people who take offense to it and get upset and like, oh, you're supposed to direct this to the officer or the supervisor, and it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to remind you like that, it was just, can we work together on this, can we do something just so we keep the case moving? And so, I mean, between office and offices, there seems to be like a lot of mistrust, and we're not allowed to communicate with each other, which may not be the case anymore, I'm not sure, but it's just, you get a lot of, when you keep talking to your office, or, oh, you're in my office, well, you don't know what you're doing. So, I mean, I can see, how that would impact.
I can't do anything about that, kind of a thing.
So I can kind of see it, and what it kind of sounds like to me is maybe like the chain of command.
Yeah.
Trying to follow the chain of command, which, trust and believe, 110%, I've been there. Why can I not just reach out to this person that I know very well, and I want them to get the help, my office manager's busy, people are doing things, and I know that I'm not going to get what I need from this email, probably another 24 hours.
Right.
Understandable. At the same time, the way that my brain has had to kind of evolve now and think about it is, especially from a training aspect, it's good to understand where everybody's at in that communication. And understanding, well, you may be doing one thing, that person that you're reaching out to, especially right now with these projects that are going on and all the work groups, what is their schedule looking like? And are they going to be able to have the capacity to do it, while also respecting you and wanting to give you the help, because I've been that person in that position. If they're reaching out to me, I'm a hard person. This is just, I struggle so hard. And then I'm like, yes, I can do it. Yes, I can help you. Yes, I can be there. In all actuality, I really can't. And I need my supervisor to step in. And then that person's like, this actually should have gone through me, Callie. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. It's just probably half that there. Okay. And so it does get frustrating, but I think that expressing your concerns and having those conversations and kind of letting them understand what the point of it is, and maybe they can better assist in getting that communication happening quicker and faster. So definitely see where you're coming from on that one, for sure. But, and it's hard, because you see the other part to it too. Yeah. So, definitely.
And we all want to be a team player.
Yes,
So
right, yes.
that's the hard
And
part.
we'll get
Yep.
some enforcement so they can do their.
Yes.
Well, lucky for you, we're going to discuss some things, the
Yes.
Oh,
I just
sorry.
say the whole thing about, a workplace culture, because how we evolve is now really, everybody is our coworker. There just happen not to be in our office, is almost how I have to do it. And, I understand chain of command, and I understand all that. So there are times when, maybe I am not following the rules. And, I really need to get this resolved today, so sometimes I might always CC my supervisor, but I do reach out to another office manager and just say, I understand, but, if you were to look at this case, I did one to Grant, recently, about, it was something that was fairly important. And so far, I haven't heard anyone really yell about it, because I do it so infrequently.
I personally think that as you spend more time and you attend more conferences and you start getting out there and we're making those connections, 110%, I agree with that one. And especially at a supervisor level, I've seen and I've heard it multiple times where some supervisors in Jeff City are reaching out to another supervisor in a different office because they have more exposure to those kinds of cases. And so they're able to kind of offer that feedback. And so the chain of command right there, tell me if I'm wrong, but I would say if you built a connection, you built a rapport, and they're able to assist and they're ready and they're there and they have the time, definitely. And that's the perfect example of reaching out to your coworkers. AJ, for example, sorry to put you on the spot, but as a training suit, we have a whole group chat, and she reaches out to them, they throw things in there, they say, yeah, call me, and I can share my screen and I can show you what I'm looking at and how I see it and how I break it down for my text. That's the perfect example right there of not necessarily following, sending it up to your office manager and sending it off to them, but building that rapport and that connection, which is something that I strongly encourage all of you to do. And why I any chance I get to tell people, come to MCSDA, come to those town halls, come to those events so that you can build those connections and network. And I want to say that 4% on the no, because this goes through my head. I'm a chipper, yappy person, okay? Kristen, chipper, yappy.
Mostly.
Not everybody's like that. Not everybody wants to come and have those personal connections when they come to work. I respect it. I, myself, have to adapt, and I have to learn that person. And okay, they don't want a 5-minute welcome or good morning, like some of my other people do. Okay, that's fine. Good morning. And keep it moving, you know? Just trying to get to know your people, and I think that that's where that 4% comes in. They don't think it's important because they don't want to talk to people. They don't want to do those things, 110%. And so when I talk about workplace culture, maybe for those certain situations, it's saying thank you a little bit more often. Just saying, hey, how are you? A wave, a smile, anything that may be out of the norm to build that positivity and that culture amongst yourselves.
Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, so now we're going to discuss the elements of a positive workplace culture. And as you can see, the first is trust and transparency, knowing that when you reach out, that trust is going to be had. So what does transparency look like in an agency, in our agency? Maybe that looks like good communication from leadership. Could be as simple as leaders sharing updates on agency performance goals, challenges, anything that would give us the ability to guide forward. Deloitte's 2024 report, they revealed that 84% of leaders say that the more transparent the organization is, the greater the workforce trust. So, and I've actually noticed this quite a bit. The more understanding that I have, the more that I can trust in the next step that I'm taking, right? It's also, though, about ease of information access, right? Managers are upfront about their goals, expectations, and how performance is measured. You know what bar you're trying to reach, right? There's an openness about goals and data. When trust is high, we will have increased compliance, engagement, and retention. Those will naturally follow, okay? So we do like that high trust and transparency, but you can't have trust and transparency without open communication, yes? So cultures do thrive when communication is two-way, frequent, and authentic, okay? We're being our authentic selves. We're trying to reach the result to a problem. We want to get that resolved for our customer, our clients. That means leadership that listens, right? They take the feedback. A team that shares freely, which we do in the training unit. I'm not sure if all teams are like that, but we share very freely. And systems that don't just collect the feedback, but we act on it. Okay, so we do have the surveys and whatnot, but there are always actionable goals that arrive as a result of those feedback surveys. So we do need to have that. So for us, this looks like being able to contact one of our managers and freely discuss our concerns or ideas, knowing that they'll be heard. And I can guarantee in every situation that I reach out to either of my managers, the concern is being heard. It means developing tools and practices that make that regular communication a habit. We have team meetings, we have check-ins versus check-ups, yes. And it makes it a whole lot easier to be able to come with those things when it's a check-in versus a check-up. Right? Our next thing on the board here is our recognition. And employee appreciation is a very big piece, a culture that celebrates wins, both big and small. That creates a sense of purpose and momentum. A good way to move this along is by supporting both formal and informal practices to spotlight efforts, impact, and progress. There are spaces that have been created specifically for child support to express our appreciation to others, and a couple of those that I can think of offhand are the kudos in our child support newsletter, and we've also got the cheers for peers. I know with MCSEA coming up, we do have nominations for awards, so make sure that you're thinking about and getting those in as well, because that's an amazing way to recognize your fellow coworkers.
I think they also have the Missouri Appreciation Award or something like that.
Something new that popped up, yeah.
This past couple of weeks, people putting some stuff on there. So
Yeah.
I think that's really
Lots of ways. I mean, and it doesn't have to be like that. It can also be as simple as, you know, oh, I got you your favorite treat because you were a super big help in that thing that I was going through, you know. Very informal in that
I
manner.
think one of my favorites is coming in and there's a sticky note on my computer from someone telling me good morning to have a good day. It's a small one, you know? And genuinely, I got a whole book full of my sticky notes that people have left me because they make me feel better and I love having them.
Yeah. And we can't forget to celebrate progress, right? Not just the big wins. We want to recognize effort, improvement, and collaboration along the way, especially in long-term or behind-the-scenes work. That thankless job, those people need extra, okay? Nobody's giving them thanks. So if you've got somebody in your office working a behind-the-scenes job, definitely reach out and tell them. So when it's possible, we do want to link our praise back to our mission. That's going to reinforce our culture and give recognition that deeper meaning.
Does anyone know our mission?
Yeah. Forgot to even ask that 7 times.
The Missourians.
Rita's kind of got it. Oh, yeah? What was it?
Say it again.
Helping Missourians live healthier, productive lives.
Yep.
Yes,
Healthier,
to empower Missourians to live safe, healthy, and productive lives.
Yep.
Sir, do you live in Missouri?
Oh,
Do you live in Missouri?
I do.
Jason, do you live in Missouri? Man, do you live in Missouri? You're all Missourians. That applies to you too. Empowering yourselves to live those safe, healthy, and productive lives. If you're having that mission for your clients, you better have that mission for yourself too when you come to work every day. You're a Missourian. Okay, you too.
Which is an excellent segue into our next topic of work-life balance, right? Because work-life balance is essential to having that positive workplace. When we take care of ourselves, we show up with more energy, more patience, and respect for one another, and ultimately it creates a healthier and more collaborative team environment. So maintaining that work-life balance isn't just a personal benefit, it directly strengthens our workplace culture. When team members feel supported in managing their time for well-being, they communicate better. They handle stress more effectively. They contribute to a more positive and more productive environment. If you need assistance, though, with your work-life balance, I would highly encourage you to use our EAP program to be able to get some of that balance in perspective. It offers multiple resources to help us, and we want to use those resources to help us. So we also do, just so you know, have an hour a month for physical activity so that we can go touch some grass if we need to.
I want to say that is one that I did not know about until Mr. Jason Horn himself told me that he was utilizing his hour to do his exercise.
Yep.
I'm like, are you for real? Like, you actually exercise? Yeah, he was. He did.
He did it.
So,
Yeah, it was nice to find out about.
yeah.
Our next topic here is respect and inclusion. So inclusion is about making sure everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. Respect shows up in everyday behaviors, who gets the mic, how decisions are made, and whether differing voices are welcomed, right? It's not just about social priority, it's a hiring one. According to YouGov, 66% of workers say acceptance and inclusion of employees from all backgrounds is important when they're looking for a job. It's pretty high number, right?
And
We all want to be included.
So those of you who do interviews and you're hosting them and you're doing your panels and you're asking your questions, while you're asking them, of course we're looking for a right answer. But are you also looking at that person to see what they're going to bring to your office as far as, diversity, what else personality-wise, what they're going to do and how they're going to impact and, chime in with the rest of them, what they're going to bring to the table outside of just their skills and their knowledge? Because that's a huge thing to be contributing and thinking about in your interview process as well.
And our last topic on the elements of a positive workplace culture, psychological safety. Research found that 57% of employees have experienced poor mental health at work. If you're vulnerable enough, raise your hand. Been there, right? Had a couple things out of balance. Got to work on that work-life balance, right? That means leaving work at work when you're done. Yes? And without psychological safety, people aren't going to feel comfortable to speak up, right? They're going to worry about being judged or punished, so they stay quiet and they keep problems to themselves. Employees bottle up their stress, which leads to burnout and anxiety. They might fear judgment or negative repercussions if they disclose their mental health challenges. They may hesitate to ask for help or suggest improvements that could alleviate the very stress that they are concerned about. The pressure to appear fine or constantly on, that's going to contribute significantly to mental health decline as well. So to avoid this, we try to create an environment where employees feel safe to speak up, ask questions, admit mistakes, and take risks without the fear of the negative consequence. We do have another quiz. Poll.
No pressure.
And this is more about your office. So how is your office on the following topics? And I know that they're a little bit hard to read, so you will want to use your phone. First time I've seen that, but thank you for that. You're a little light.
Oh, yeah.
I see. At the end of it, there's no really upvotes. I'm like, it is well, guys. Oh, I love that. Only got a couple more to respond, so we'll give it just another moment.
So far though, it looks like we're in a decent place.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking pretty good here. Looking like we're on the brighter side of life from this room.
Looks like we might need to work on balancing the work-life balance.
Promoting a good work-life balance.
So while you guys kind of fill it out, I'm sure you guys are asking, man, I should go county Thursday practice what they preach.
Mm-hmm.
And I can assure you that we do. I would say something like this Max Modernization project, it's had to require that open communication, the trust and the transparency, recognizing that work-life balance, the recognition, the small things that are happening, the little Max the Mouse. You know, that was a group effort that took a lot of people and a lot of minds to put together and to get those options out. I don't think I've ever seen our team operate as such a high-performing team as we are right now. We are constantly putting stuff out to help you guys out in the fields. My number one biggest one, and we might be talking about it later, so I'm sorry if I'm taking this one. Our community practices have been a game changer. And it's requiring our policy, our systems, our training teams to all put our heads together and to put out good material and content to either help skill you guys up or hitting an area that maybe we forgot about and we haven't touched on it in a while and we're seeing trending errors. And so we all have to act as that group and put our minds together to get the content out to you guys. And it also goes down even to our training soups and our floor supervisors to be getting that content out to you guys and furthering that communication even more. So lots of different things that we are practicing and trying. And I've never felt so included and connected on a team. And believe me when I say this, my team isn't even in my office. Kirsty and I are together, don't get me wrong, and so I love being able to walk over to her office and tell her good morning, and vice versa. You've been coming to my office lately, I've noticed that, and I absolutely love it, by the way. But my boss, she's not in Jeff City. My direct report, she's not in Jeff City. And the rest of my team members are not in Jeff City, man, and it's hard, but we make it work. And like I said, never been a part of a team that I felt more connected and in touch with and seen and heard. They hear me and they see me. It's all I can ask for. They recognize my potential. They know what I'm capable of. And the same thing with Christy. I mean, if you're not on a team like that, get your team to get like that. Because it's a complete game changer. Coming to work every day, I've been through periods of my work life where I'm like, I don't want to go. My anxiety's through the roof. I'm not feeling it. I have a lot of personal stuff, but I also have things at the workplace that I don't want to face today. Being a part of this team makes that capable for me. I'm able to come in, I'm like, man, guys, I had a really long night. My 3-year-old daughter, she's saying some crazy stuff. She's been up all night. She's driving me insane. And they sit there, they listen to me, they laugh with me, they share their experiences, and then we start working on things, and it's a collaboration. It is so nice. It is very nice to be a part of a team like this.
Yeah, and I would say community of practice hits all of these buckets, for sure. Because it's giving.
Shout out to Jeannie right here, because she's also part of this, and she's my person that I collaborate with on my presentations and things that I put out there. And without Jeannie, man, you guys would be getting some incorrect information, I tell you what. Thanks, Jeannie. Thank you, Jeannie. high trust, poor communication, overwork is praised. You're being congratulated on all of that overtime that you completed this month. Okay? Mistakes are punished. And the worst of all, in my opinion, the blame or fear-based leadership. Okay? And so our positives is complete opposite, obviously. You have that high trust and that psychological safety. You're able to have those conversations, right? Open, honest, and clear communication. In my opinion, I feel as if you've hit this when you're sitting in your meetings and you're talking with your super, and you're like, I don't really know if I should say this, but, and she says, yeah, go ahead, give it to me. Okay? You have that open communication and you're able to share maybe some things that you think are negative and you're having that hard, difficult time to approach it. If you're able to get there and you're able to communicate about it, I think you're in a good spot. If you have that soup that's going to listen to you and she's really taking in, he or she, taking into consideration what you're saying and trying to make a difference, I think you're in a really good spot. And then your work-life balance is respected. This one's huge. How many of you guys feel like you have that? Genuinely, please raise your hands.
Life balance.
You guys feel like you have it?
Work stays at work.
Work stays at work, you're not going home complaining about it.
That was the secret outlier that I had to,
Yes.
I had to cut that out,
My
because.
method in the conversation that my partner and I have had, 10 minutes each. We each get to 10 minutes to get it out, whether it be the negative or the positive, just to get it out, have those conversations, be there for each other, and then move on.
Move it to the side.
Okay? And so if you're sitting there though, and you're upset for the rest of your night, maybe you've got an attitude now, and you're not in the best of moods because of how your work day impacted you, one, that's something that you guys should be considering and having those hard conversations of changing things. And two, I don't really feel like you got the work-life balance at that point, right? You may not be doing the work and you may be sitting at home, so, kind of, sort of, you're still thinking about it. You don't get paid to think about work after work hours, right? So, and I know it's a lot easier said than done, leave it at the door. I promise you, once you make that decision and you set those boundaries with yourself, that time at home, you're basking, you're relaxing, and you're enjoying your time. And you're coming to work that following Monday ready to go, okay? A little bit more pep in your step, you're eager to assist your coworkers because you got that relaxation period over the weekend. And even just in your evenings. So work-life balance, I can't appreciate enough. It's so important, okay? And then mistakes are seen as learning opportunities. I know that sometimes we hate hearing that, but you make a mistake, it's just a learning opportunity, genuinely and seriously, okay? You're learning from it, that's what matters. And then the supportive and accountable leadership. This one, I'm so grateful that we have this, and she's here today, thank you, Gail, for establishing that supportive leadership for us. Seriously and genuinely, I tell Gail, listen, these are my obstacles right now. We got a deadline, this is what I'm working on, but this is my problem. Immediately, I can hear her click-clacking in the background, trying to figure out what she can do to remove my obstacles, as long as they're within her power. If they're not, then we're working with it, and she's listening to me rant for a solid 5 minutes, and then she's putting me on the right mind path to continue on with my project. So, that one's my favorite. Thank you, Gail. And so, I'm going to throw out a statistic here, okay? 69% of our Gen Z employees prefer a better, positive working atmosphere versus a higher paycheck. And this statistic is just pulled from all over. Whether you're a Gen Z employee from bottom of the barrel all the way up to the top, this is how they feel. And I would say I'm a Gen Z employee, okay? I am part of that 69%. Even when I've been working different, I've worked in restaurants, I've worked in different atmospheres, I felt it then. I want a better working atmosphere versus higher paycheck. And even coming over here, and I'm like, man, it's kind of boring right now. I need some pep in here. And while I'm getting paid better than what I may have been doing at my serving job, the atmosphere was a little bit different. I didn't feel included just yet. It took me some time. And I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Should I go back to my restaurant and my serving because I was coming home with money every day, I was having fun, I was doing what I needed to? Versus an office atmosphere where I feel this professionalism is required from me. Not all the time though, guys. We're able to have some fun. And once I realized that my coworkers actually appreciated that positive atmosphere and that vibe that I brought, that they enjoyed laughing, that they really maybe they lied to me and didn't like my jokes, but they laughed, and that's all that matters to me. I felt like I was having a lot more fun at work. I was a lot more invested. I actually cared a lot more than what I did prior to. At that point, when I first started, no offense guys, I was here to build my resume. And then I never left. And I'm still here. I love my job. I love coming to work every day. Of course, yeah, waking up early in the morning, it's a bummer. And my coworkers know don't speak to me before 8:30.
Has she had her coffee yet?
Yes, and she checks, have you had your coffee before I ask you this question? And if I haven't, come up later, okay? I'm just joking. So, yes, I am part of that 69%, and I agree. I want that better, positive working atmosphere versus a higher paycheck to go home to, genuinely. Because while I may have more money in my pocket, I'm still going home and probably complaining about my day, right? I don't have that work-life balance, and I'm not respecting the other people around me and contributing to the fact that the point that I could, the potential that I have. So, it's important. What do you guys think?
I like the paycheck.
I like the higher paycheck. And listen, and it's some people, that's just how it is, and that's okay. That's no problem with it. If you prefer a higher paycheck, great. Please respond to what I'm doing. How about you guys? What do you think? Be honest, higher paycheck or a better working atmosphere?
Atmosphere.
Atmosphere? Yes.
Both.
Both. Okay.
Ideal world.
Okay. Back in the corner, guys, what do you guys think? Atmosphere or paycheck? You can be honest. They won't hurt my feelings. Both. Okay. I hear ya. Honestly, in an ideal world, I work 0 hours a week and I come home with 100,000, right?
Right.
Ideal world.
That's
So-
not in the circle of control.
Something I'm still striving for. I don't know what world we'll get it in, but high hopes, high hopes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we all want a really high paycheck and a really good working atmosphere, though. And I really think that while Kirsty and I cannot help with the higher paycheck as much as I wish I could, and I know she does too, we can help with the positive working atmosphere, okay? And we can offer the tips and the tools and everything to put in your toolbox to go back to your offices and to let folks loose to the rest of your coworkers, okay? So, what do you think creates that positive working atmosphere? What do you think it is that brings them all together and makes them want to work together?
I know you want us to say it ourselves, but it takes a village.
It does take a village. It sure does. Well, lucky for you guys, Christy has all the answers. I'm done with this part.
So to elaborate, the 5 pillars of a positive workplace culture, these are the things that we're really going to lean on, right? So trust, lead by example, be the role model. Prioritize psychological safety. Trust is built or broken by leadership behavior. So when leaders model transparency, admit their mistakes, and invite honest feedback, they create psychological safety, which can be viewed as the foundation of a healthy culture. We should train managers to be approachable, consistent, and accountable. And one thing I'd like to add here is to be able to look for the positive opportunity in everything. That's one thing I get from Gail that other managers haven't quite met the bar on, right? Encourage that open dialogue. Publicly acknowledge mistakes made by leadership and then outline the lessons that we learned from that, right? Demonstrating that vulnerability and a commitment to improvement aligns you so much better with your staff. Communication, that's our second pillar up here. Communicate early, often, and transparently. Strong cultures do thrive on clarity. So regular, honest communication, it builds that alignment and reduces confusion and mistrust. We're all looking for clarity. Agencies with good communication, they share context behind decisions. They explain the why. Why are we doing this? And they want to involve employees as early as possible in that process so that everyone understands why. They'll also share news in different ways. So for example, you'll receive emails, team meetings, short videos from leaders. We've had a few that have come out in regards to our new modernized system. Town halls just like this, all good communication methods. Our next is inclusion. And as we've tried to do here today, including everybody in our room in our conversation, we want to hire for culture add. and then build feedback into the culture so that we can continue to improve our culture as we move forward. Inclusion is about who has a voice and how decisions are shaped. Hiring people who bring diverse perspectives and listening to them, that really strengthens our culture, right? And it sometimes it's hard for us because we want to automatically think where we're coming from is the only way. But to listen to all of the ideas and get the best direction from that is really how the culture strengthens.
I think that we've had a lot of change on our training unit, and a lot of new members have been added. And all of them, the things that they've brought and the way that they expanded our brains into ways of thinking that we were not thinking before.
Yeah.
Like our new PBS, the way that she just, I mean, I used to do PBS, okay? And she comes in here and she just starts doing amazing things that I didn't even think of. And I'm like, as much as I want to take this personally, you're good. You are so good.
Bitter or better, Callie, which are you choosing?
I had to toss it behind me because I couldn't even be mad.
Yeah.
She was making my new job easy. Like, that's what we want. The way that she was attacking things and getting it done was an approach that I didn't even think of before. Good ad. She
Yeah,
was
good
a
ad.
real good ad to our team.
And another good ad she mentioned earlier was the community of practice. Inviting different team members to share ideas and meetings and planning sessions, that really strengthens us as a culture as well. Making sure everybody gets that chance to speak and be heard. Recognition is our fourth pillar, recognizing and reinforcing positive behaviors. So what gets recognized is what gets repeated. And I'm going to say that again. What gets recognized? Are you recognizing the bad behavior? Are you recognizing the good behavior? Whatever gets recognized is repeated. Consistent values-based recognition, that motivates employees and strengthens cultural norms. A good path to recognition is to encourage peer-to-peer shout-outs through internal communication channels. And again, we talked about this with the kudos. We actually have an office that's doing a good apple tree. And that's where your apple is placed on the tree if you reach a certain performance goal that's set by the office. So that can help give some visibility to being able to, bringing about that good communication, good recognition. And I really want to highlight the two wolves here. You all may have heard the fable about the two wolves. The little boy asks, there's two wolves, a light one and a dark one, and the little boy asks which one wins. And the man says, whichever one you feed. Okay? So again, what gets recognized gets repeated. And we want to recognize the good in those around us. So, for me, that was a very I'm a critical person, and it's hard for me not to see the bad wolf, but I have learned how to feed the bad wolf less. Okay? We want to spotlight our team wins and individual contributions in meetings, newsletters, department updates. We want to create that mix of formal and informal recognition, right? And our last pillar here is our purpose. Define our values clearly and stay flexible as we grow, because things can always change. This gave us a good idea. Maybe if you have a desire to increase your purpose, get a team plant. It'll help with communication. It'll help with goal setting. It will help with our purpose. I know some folks probably don't have the extra time to spare, or their office is a solo office, right? But you can still reconnect with what your purpose is. And plants have been a big way for me to figure out, where I fall.
Chris has got me out of my own plants. I've never planted anything in my life. So the plant thing is really working out. I thought like 5 hours sitting on the kitchen table right now.
And what are you working toward? What are you working toward?
I'm working, learning, yes.
And putting them in dirt. Yes.
Watching them flourish and grow, yeah.
And people need to know what they're working for and why it matters, right? I want to make this plant have a new leaf. So what am I going to do? I'm going to fertilize it. I'm going to water it. I'm going to put it in some dirt. I'm not going to let it sit in the jar it's in for a year until I have to figure out the escape plan on how to keep this plant growing, right? But purpose gives our culture direction, right? So it also needs to evolve with your team and the changing business. And that, you know, that plant activity could potentially tell you how you need to communicate differently in order to change your outcome, right? I actually had an internal story to tell about this. I had a plant for a year, would not grow a new leaf. And it's my prized Monstera albo. And I finally communicated with it different. I was like, you're just not happy here, are you? And so I took it downstairs with all the rest of the plants. Guess what? I forgot to take a picture, but it's got a new leaf after a whole year. You know, so I just had to change and adapt. I wasn't making that move. I was staying stuck, and that's not going to help us, right? So some ways to increase our purpose within our workplace culture, they include regularly aligning individual and team goals with the overarching agency values and mission. And what's our mission again?
0 out of 10 for you guys. Yeah. Say it with me. Empower Missourians to live safe, healthy, and productive lives.
Yes, bingo. Communicating the why often, not just the what. Okay, why we do what we do is this mission. Revisiting and adapting your cultural values and purpose regularly, that would be our team meetings. We have a team meeting, what, once every 2 weeks? Yeah, and sometimes it requires more than that because the communication changes enough that we need to meet again and figure out realign in the places that we're not aligned in.
Multiple times we've been working on a project, especially with this max modernization, and our biggest one was our online trainings. We got to redo everything.
Yeah.
We start going through and we're trying to take screenshots of our training cases to, you know, change out our old ones, and there's a huge visual problem here. The way that we're producing them and, you know, publishing them out, they're blurry, no one can see anything, no one's going to learn anything. And that took group collaboration on getting that together. Impromptu meetings, who's available to meet within the next 10 minutes so that we can talk about this and figure out our solutions and troubleshoot and see what we can do. And if we didn't have that kind of communication, we wouldn't have figured that out, and it would have taken us a lot, but it would have taken us a lot longer. We got deadlines to meet right now. Like, there isn't time to play around with this one. And so without, like I said, without that communication, we may still be twiddling our thumbs and trying to figure out what we're going to do to help you guys in training, right?
So now we're going to give you an opportunity. If you didn't want to speak out, now you can just type it on the screen. We've got another poll here. And it's going to involve, what else do you think impacts our workplace culture? All the things besides what I've mentioned. Can you think of anything else? And I believe you only need to put one response in, right? Yeah, because it's going to show up as a word cloud.
Respect.
Very important.
Attitude. Change. Equality. Consistency.
Consistency, yeah.
Good supervision. Cooperation.
Me.
You're right, though.
Yeah, that's a very, I'd say you took the lesson from this perfectly.
Positive attitudes, personal life, yep, that's a big one. Different personalities. So
Fairness.
that just kind of made me think of this, and it's something that we had done in the Jeff City office when I was a training suit. Has anyone taken the DISC assessment? A couple of you guys have?
Yes.
So the DISC assessment was a huge one, because you answer a bunch of questions, and it basically kind of lets you know how you are as a person, how you communicate, how you receive feedback, how you like to operate within your groups of people. And what I absolutely loved was it all put us on this little map of where we were personality-wise. And wow, we were all over the place. And so it really helped me, because I'm the chitter-chatter, right? I'm the one who likes to, while I may ask you a question about an income withholding order, I'm also asking you how everybody else in your family's doing, how your day's going, what your plans are this weekend. Not everybody likes that. Respect it, got it. And so with doing that DISC assessment, it was able for us to identify how the rest of our coworkers like to communicate. And I think that's huge. If you don't know, you don't know. But once you know, okay, now I know. You want me to get straight to business. That's how you communicate.
I can
Direct and to the point with details, Gail.
Yes. Yes.
We know, because
Yes.
we did it, and we went through, that was a great experience to be able to get to know how we can communicate very well with the
Yeah.
people we're around. These are excellent. Organization, collab, belief in the mission, cooperation, fairness, staff retention, that does make a big one.
I think the quickest way to put a damper on my day is telling me my favorite coworker's leaving. I'm leaving too. We're going together. Usually not the case, but yeah, staff retention, keeping our employees, making sure they feel appreciated, valued, heard, all of the above. That was huge.
Anybody else want to put in on this? Only 19 out of 29. Nobody else got something unique? All right.
All right. So, I know we've said it a couple of times, just in case no one heard us though. You guys are the ones who embody our company values and are implementing those things out into the field. While our leaders give us the tools and they help us direct us in the right area, it is up to us on how we communicate with our clients and customers, how we communicate with our coworkers, how we communicate with our trainers, how we communicate with everyone, and how we work together. It's on you guys too. So if you're sitting in your cube and you're like, man, they should have made this change, this one, and this one, and I'm not acting right until they do, probably not the best attitude. And ultimately, as we've all seen, change takes time. It takes a long time. And you never know, we might be working on things in the background that you're not aware of. And so we are trying, though, I can tell you that much. And when I say we, it is not us, because we don't make those decisions. You're looking at your people back there. They are trying really hard, okay? So give them grace, but also know it's up to you guys to be implementing those things out into your field, okay? And so we've talked about a couple of things. I know I've shared, Christy has shared, but I kind of want to hear from you guys. I kind of want to know what's going on in your offices, how you are collaborating, how you're communicating, and one that I want to talk about is celebrating life events. Do you guys do anything fun in your offices for birthdays, baby showers, anniversaries, anything like that? What do you guys do?
Birthdays, we have a lot of celebrations actually.
Good.
So many that you're like, what are we celebrating again?
Retirement.
Retirement, yes.
I mean, our group's pretty close.
Good.
That's wonderful.
Is that your office? Okay, I just want to make sure before I have you share AJ. What about over here? What are you guys doing?
Birthdays.
Birthdays? This table over here, what are we doing in our offices to celebrate life events?
We do, birthday cards that have, little scratchers and scratcher flowers. Yeah.
The potential to leave forever, huh? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, every month, we have the snack days for the national snacks of the month.
Nice.
That's a good one then. And then we do baby showers and retirement parties.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yep.
What about back there? Everything?
Just waking up in the morning.
You did it! You made it!
That's my favorite thing lately to
Yes.
say. You ask me how I'm doing, I'm successful.
I
I
made
woke
it.
up today.
I'm here.
Every day is a celebration. Yeah.
We're in Andrews County, so we're a very small office, so we can celebrate any highs that we have.
Just remember,
It's like a donut day.
just because you're small, you're still mighty.
Makes me wonder, curiosity has me on the solo office over here. Do you at least take the day off when it's your birthday?
Well, I'm not the only clerk, I'm just
Okay.
the only one that does child support. There's another one that has max access, but she doesn't.
Is there the
Part-time.
Is there the type of camaraderie in your office as well?
Most of us.
Most of us? Okay. Good to know.
We're split up, you got several people on one floor, we got criminal courts on the next floor, so we
Okay.
don't handle people.
Gotcha.
I will say something that I didn't realize when I first started working for our agency is how small child support really is. When you look at IM's numbers and the amount of people they have working over there, wowzers, okay? And when I just said to her the small dividing thing, it blew my mind. The things that we were doing and the things that we were accomplishing was the amount of people that we had. That meant the world to me and knew that I was in the right place because I am always for the underdog. I like those smaller groups that are accomplishing huge things because they didn't expect that from us. And I've been thinking about it a lot lately on how we're all, as we've been doing this presentation and talking with you guys, and how we all communicate and collaborate together. And I know that sometimes people are like, gosh, this lady's up here talking about stuff that I don't care about. Like, we're fine over here. I don't care what she has to say. That's fine. But I really, truly feel, if you listen to what we say and how we feel on it, and how it's impacted us, and going back out to your offices and actually implementing them, please, please, notice the change. Let me know. After we did our Jeff City one, the amount of people that were coming to us afterwards and asking for more tips and tricks and how to make things more fun, I've heard them chit-chatting, I've heard them laughing, they now have their team plant, and it makes me so happy to see, not only because I came from the Jeff City office, so my heart's kind of there, but just because it's hard to see your office not doing very well. They're fighting, they're arguing, they're not getting things done, and all of a sudden, it sounds like music. You can hear it. They're getting along. Things are getting done. The questions that are being asked are good ones, and we're accomplishing things. They're bad apple, or good apple tree. They're good apple tree, because I was from Jeff City. Very full right now. I walk past it almost every day, and there's a new apple being added to their tree. That's awesome. Now, building trust. How do you guys think you do on trust? Are you talking about things that go beyond just work? When you have a question, let's say I'm making a polling order, when you come in, hey, can you help me with this? Or is it, hey, how's your day? I heard you have a fun meeting with your grandkids. Can you help me on this? Asking that person and getting to know them just a little bit, it does wonders. You really get to know how they operate, how they communicate, what they like and what they don't. And you're starting to build those relationships with people. It's one of my favorites. My goal, I could walk into work, who's going to be my friend today? Okay? What kind of connection am I going to build? Because me, myself, I love people. I love getting to know other people because the points of views may be different from mine. And I love that. Christy, she's awesome. Okay? We laugh, we crack it up, we have good conversations. She has different points of views than me on certain things. And it's really helped me kind of evolve and to understand certain things that are happening around us because I may not want to say this or admit it, change can be hard for me sometimes. No one wants to say that, especially in child support right now where we are changing everything. It was hard for me. And Christy has helped me adapt to some of those. Well, we're doing that because of this. I get it.
Remember the why, Callie.
This makes sense. I see that. Okay. So how do you guys feel that you guys are doing on that building trust and that rapport and building those connections with people in your offices? Going back to no one speaks up, I just start pointing at tables.
Anyone?
Okay. This table. How do you guys feel you do on communication, building that trust with each other?
In my office, I see very good.
Very good. Good. How are we doing, guys?
So I think both in my office that I work in, which is Warrensburg, I don't feel bad about going over and talking to anybody about things that I didn't know or just the friends that I developed. But I feel that same way with my team in Jeff City.
Yep.
And across the state.
Do you know how upset I was when I realized we weren't in Jeff City? I got up one day and I was running. My wife and then just want to see where is she? She's not here. It's so just
Not in my office.
Okay? And I love being able to do that with Jeannie because she's got a wealth of knowledge. And I also love that she's kind of new to policy, kind of like how I'm new to training. And so we get to help each other and build each other's confidence up in what we're doing by working together. And so 6 months ago, Jeannie married me. And now I'm comfortable enough to make those phone calls, crack the jokes, and get the job done. Better communication, better collaboration. Okay? What about over here? How are we doing on communication, guys? Building trust with your coworkers.
We have an amazing trust.
Too much trust.
Little oversharing, trauma dumping, been there, done that.
I think our office, we are very good about celebrating the personal wins in our lives.
Good.
The milestones,
does. When you look at it big picture, you spend more time here than you do at home with your families. Why do we not know our coworkers other than just first, last name, and what their specialty is? I think that's weird. I feel like we spend so much time together.
Should know.
Why do I not know the names of your kids or how many you have? Why do I not know any of this? And honestly, there have been times where I'm like, I don't really know about this person. I have some time, I have some stuff that I need to do, and I think that they can help me out on this, and I'm going to spend some time with them and building that rapport with them. I have learned so much about the people in my office, and maybe sometimes they learn a little bit about me too, okay? And so it's game changing when you have those conversations with them, and you start to work as a team. You feel like family. I feel like one of our offices, they literally call their team meetings family meetings. So, and that's where they talk about all their good stuff. So, thank you for sharing. I want to say, guys, I had every intention on having candy to throw out to you, brave people who speak your mind. You're getting air high fives. Swing around. All right, what about this back table? She's looking at her, she's looking at me, what are we gonna say? Yeah, that was kind of something we heard from another office. You think we have time to talk like that, to get to know each other? Got it, heard you, I get it. And so something that someone had mentioned to me, why are we not talking on our breaks? Well, because I'm trying to get my walk in, I'm trying to get a snack in, I'm trying to do whatever. And this one right there, Rachel Keller, right there, Rachel Thompson, sorry. Rachel Thompson. Rachel made me get out of my office every break that we had and go on walks and get a snack and drink water with her. And I got to know her very quickly, okay? And it got to a point where I'm like, Rachel, I don't want to walk. And she's like, you said you wanted to walk? Let's go. And we built a really good relationship and a really good connection. We were fellow supervisors, we worked together on things. I was new to the training suit team and just as a supervisor, and she really helped with that adjustment and that transition in my life. Grateful for you sometimes. Sometimes you're what? Okay.
That's the family side of it, right?
Yes. All right, so, and we've kind of talked about, recognizing people and doing those small life celebrations, but what are you doing about team building? That one's my favorite. And don't say you don't have time for team building, because I think we could all set aside 10 minutes in a team or in a huddle to do some team building. So what do you guys do for some team building activities?
We play Dictionary.
Dictionary? Nice. Dictionary is fun. It's if you are a part of a team that's like secret artists.
We do have a Bob Ross on our team, just so everyone
Rita, what
knows.
you got?
I am very competitive, and so I enjoy games.
Yes. I get so competitive, I have to tap out.
Right? I challenge you to,
Yes.
to make me lose or,
Yes.
beat me, honestly.
So, team building, guys, if you're not making time for it, I really strongly urge you to. The training team has really tried to implement those in our community practices, in our team buildings, in our team meetings, any chance that we have a group of new supervisors together, we're going to put the game for the opposite first. And whether that's for you or us, because we just want to have some fun, don't worry about it. We're bonding, we're building, and that's what we want at the end of the day. Okay? You can do it next one.
So, without changing what we can't control, remember our circle of control, like what the work we do, the people with whom we do it, the hours we do it in, and how much we're paid. If you could wave a magic wand, oh, that did not work, sorry. If you could wave a magic wand and change the attitude, vibe, feel of your office, what would that look like? Just think about that for a moment. Obviously, can't have a swimming pool, open bar, live band. But what would each of our offices look like if we could magically change the culture? Take a minute and let this percolate and turn it into a vision of what your office could look like if there were no barriers to changing it.
Are you thinking about it?
You thinking about it? Think about it. So all of these things that might have come to mind, or as you ruminate on them leaving today, these are within the realm of what individuals actually can impact, right? Elements of our environment over which we can exert influence. It starts with one authentic individual being the kind of person other people want to be around. Someone who intentionally builds others up and draws to themselves the same energy that they give out. Birds of a feather do flock together. So, let's take from this imagining what could be purposeful plans. We want to make purposeful plans out of this. So out of all the thoughts you just had about how you could improve your culture, take one back to your office and implement it.
Write it on a sticky note and put it in a place that you're going to see every day. Maybe it's on your monitor. Maybe it's a spot on your whiteboard. The difference in the change that you are wanting to make, that you are in control of, that you are capable of doing, and going back to your office and making that change.
So what can you do to enhance your office culture? Think of those 2-3 actions, like she mentioned, put them on a sticky note, take them back to your office. They don't have to be big actions, right? But they do need to be meaningful, consistent, and authentic.
So, the emotions that employees experience at work significantly impact their performance, how long they stay with the company, and the stories they share when they go home. What kind of stories are you guys telling? Telling good ones, or bad ones, or maybe some crazy ones that you didn't think that you'd experience during your workday? So whenever we have those positive attitudes, and I know you're tired of hearing me say it, positive attitudes, good communication, good collaboration, makes the world go round, okay? Our clients are served better, we come to work happier, we go home even happier, and our coworkers appreciate us, and they feel appreciated as well. Win-win, that's, I think we're great there. That's an awesome thing that we all want to achieve every day, right? Nod your head like this if you feel like that's right. Man, I don't see my head shaking. Okay. Some of us feel it, some of us don't. But ultimately, that collaboration is so important so that we serve our clients appropriately, okay?
So to wrap it up, culture is how employees' hearts and their stomachs feel about Monday morning on a Sunday night, right? None of those Sunday scaries. Great culture doesn't happen by accident. It's created through trust, clear communication, inclusion, recognition, and a shared sense of purpose. So what's the good news? Every time we chat or interact or make a decision, it's a chance to make our culture even stronger. These moments are opportunities for all of us to grow together and build something meaningful. I encourage everyone to seize the opportunity to foster a culture shift in your office and make child support a truly great place to work.
We're asked constantly, girl, what did you put in your coffee today? It's not something that's store-bought. It's not something we got on sale. It's not something I bought on Amazon. It is self-made. We had to make that decision to wake up that morning, look ourselves in the mirror, and say, I want my day to be different. I want to enjoy my work day. I want to make a difference, and I want to connect with people. Do it. Try it. Practice it. Implement it. Push on your coworkers, okay? Force them to be happy, whether they want or not.
Because at the end of the day, they do. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We appreciate you.
So just a few housekeeping things. Gail, get on up here. On behalf of Kansas City, we just want to say thank you guys for not presenting once, but filling in. So thank you.
Thank you.
I got you guys' names on it.
Much appreciated.
There you go. There you go. So thank you. Okay, just a few housekeeping things. Let's give the ladies a round of applause one more time. So you guys can go ahead and head to lunch. There are a ton of great places. I recommend either the Mexican place, which is right around the corner, or there's a barbecue right here, maybe 5 minutes away. Not even, it's like 2 minutes away. I'm gonna ask everybody to be back about 1:30. We'll get started at 1:30, so please feel free to go head on out. And if you guys have not signed in yet, there is a sign-up sheet. I know some people are not gonna return this afternoon, so please be sure to sign up before you guys leave. Thank you.